And now on Who's Views, it's time to join JT, Paul, and Third Doctor Ian for the latest headlines.
Here we are again, everybody. Welcome back to Who's Views. Nice to see you, nice. It is great to be back with you here on Sunday, the 29th of June, 2025. It's 8 o'clock here in the UK and we are live. Hello. It's great to see you. It's your big show. It's headlines. Lots to talk about tonight in a time when you would not believe that there's lots to talk about, but there is. So we're going to try and cram it all in because have you heard? Yeah, we've got a lot to get through. We're going to be looking at who's calling who. No one, it seems, possibly. We're going to be looking at that and call the midwife. We're going to be talking about the usual suspects. I do mean, of course, he who should be never named, RTD. We're going to be talking about Juno Dawson. And we're going to be talking about our ex-leading man, thank God he's gone, Ncuti Gatwa. If you're in the USA, get ready. The BBC's on the way back. We're going to be looking at that as well. So as I say, lots to get through tonight. So let's bring those two on, shall we? With me tonight, as usual, it's Third Doctor Ian, and we've got Paul, who's looking rather red.
Hello. Yes, I've got sunburn today. So if I keel over at some point later on the chat, you know what it is, okay?
Now, that is something you won't hear an Edinburgh resident saying often.
Yeah. We've had quite good weather for this time of year by Edinburgh standards. Yeah. Normally it's peeing down. Yeah.
Lots of you joining us tonight. Thank you so much. Get yourselves into the chat. We want to know what your views are as well as our views. So you're very, very welcome. At the top of the show, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody, of course, that has been getting in touch with us again this week. As ever, if you want to get in touch, and if you also want to get in touch to say you want to appear on the latest editions of our Chit Chat show, then you can. whosviews1@gmail.com. I will get round to your email eventually, honestly. I've cleared a few up this week, but it's all a question of timing, Battlefield. But yes, whosviews1@gmail.com. Do get in touch. It's always good to hear from you. I want to say thank you at the top of the show to Real Steve, to Jason G, to Reviews Rant Religion, to Len Looks Back, to Fly Highland, Michael Gorman, Forbidden Man, Craig Dunlop, Dave Wilson, Dave Phillips, Boozeprint, to Third Doctor Andy, to Judge Joseph Dredd, to Nibble69, to Mudcrab, to Gary Bryant, to Kevin Graham, Chicky118, to Kismet Mulhaneski, Stephen Lee, to David Phillip, to Simon Burt, and Merry Old Soul Gigglesmith. Thank you so much for getting in touch.
Can I give a shout out for Kirk Stacey? Thank you, mate. Cheers. Fantastic.
Yes, Kirk as well. Of course,
I'll echo that. Yeah, thank you.
More stuff from Kirk coming up very soon, by the way, because we've got a project involving Kirk stuff as well as some other stuff. But yeah, stay tuned with us. Talking of projects as well, thank you so much for joining in with our Sea Devils review the other night, everybody. Great response to that. We had some great messages, guys. We really, really have.
That was great fun.
Yeah.
It's
just nice to get back to talking about Doctor Who in a positive way, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. More of that, please. Yes.
Yeah. Well, just reconnecting with what it's all about.
Yeah.
You know.
I appreciate what you've lost, doesn't it? Really, it's incredible.
Absolutely. It really does. Well, we have got lots more coming up for you on the channel when it comes to that as well. So do stay with us. If you're new to the channel, welcome. It's good to see you. Please subscribe. If you have already subscribed, please make sure you are still subscribed because, yes, I'm still getting those emails saying somebody's unsubscribed you. Nothing to do with those. But you know what to do. Just resubscribe and keep checking. But thank you, everybody. I want to say actually as well, thank you to Michael Gorman, guys, who was so inspired by our review of the Sea Devils the other night. He sent us this.
Oh, superb.
Who's that then?
Tom Baker. No, it's John Perrier.
Michael, you can't mistake that, can you? That is the man.
Yeah.
Great, a long shank knave with a mighty nose. That's the one.
Yeah. And you can definitely you can see Sean Pertwee in there, can't you?
Oh,
with the eyes.
Yeah, when you look at Sean, you can. Yeah. But Michael, thank you for your artwork on that one, and I'm glad you enjoyed our Sea Devils show. I'm glad you all enjoyed our Sea Devils show. Lots more.
There's a lot of talented people who watch this channel, aren't there? Lots of talented.
There are. There are. We're very lucky. Quite honestly, very lucky that they're putting up with us. Margie75 is saying, lovely picture of John Pertwee. Ezra Goldstein's with us. Hello, you. Nice. Margie's with us as well. Hello. What else we call that? Need that on a black T-shirt, says Meddling Funk 7962. There's some other comments coming through there as well, talking about Glasgow and stuff, but we are coming to that all in the show. But stay with us, everybody. Good to see you. Now, last week we were all talking. You were all here with us, and we were talking about AI, weren't we, guys? And artificial intelligence.
Yes, we were,
and we were talking about Doctor Who Mid-Journey, weren't we?
Yeah,
we were.
And we looked at the trailer or the piece that Doctor Who and the Mid-Journey had put out on YouTube, which was all AI, and we showed some screenshots from that, and it all looked fantastic because what he had done is he'd put Big Finish's cracking story spare parts and illustrated it through AI, and it looked superb, didn't it, guys?
It was superb, utterly
Really
superb.
good.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. Now, that was since, as we reported last week, taken down. I've had no updates at all this week on what this current situation is. I will get back in touch with him to see what's happening. But I also said to you last week, as part of that, we showed some snippets from the Paul McGann story. So, what was it called? Sword of Orion. That's right, isn't it?
That's the Cyberman one, isn't it? His second one from Big Finish, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And a couple of people in the chat, guys, when we were talking about it, were saying, "Oh, I wonder what the Cybermen look like there." And I said I'd hunt out the screenshot I had. Well, I have, and this is them here.
Oh, yes. On the cover of the Big Finish CD, there are Invasion Cybermen. They look superb. Really nice.
Yeah, they are amazing.
Yeah.
So that is from Mid-Journey's little snippet of the coming next type trailer he did. Absolutely beautiful. And they look great.
That is pure Doctor Who, isn't it? Superb. Really nice.
It is. And it's proper Cybermen as well. I mean, I didn't mind the Cybermen when they first originally came back, although they were very stompy. And they retained that stompiness anyway. Whereas the Cybermen were never stompers, were they? They were always marchers.
But they could easily sneak up on you. I mean, Wheel in Space, things like that, Moonbase, they're quite creepy, aren't they? You know,
that's the point of the Cybermen, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Really,
I just watched Moonbase yesterday, actually, and you know when Ralph is caught in the stores,
that's superb. All that shadowing for superb.
Yeah, you just see the shadow and everything, but it's absolutely silent until it's stood in front of him, and he doesn't know it's there. Whereas nowadays, you wouldn't get that because half the Moonbase would have heard it.
It's like, quick, here they come. They're about 40 miles away, but let's run now. Yeah.
That was the problem with it. I mean, these Cybermen for me look absolutely fantastic. That's how I want them to be. But that was always the problem for me with the reboot versions. They were too hissy, clunky, mechanical. And I don't think the Cybermen should be. They should have that beautiful glide element of silence.
I quite like the helmets of the Jodie version, although they had these bizarre Mungo Jerry type sideboards. You know, remember that kind of thing they had? Remember that? You remember that? Yeah,
I do. Yeah.
We're going to be looking at, by the way, talking of the Cybermen, we're going to be continuing our celebration of, we're on the eve of the Cybermen's 60th anniversary. It is next year, 2026. We've got ahead of everybody else, as we do here on this channel. And we've started our Cybermen at 60 series. We started it a few months back. We're going to be picking it up again. And we are going to be looking at the David Tennant episodes, Age of Steel and Rise of the Cybermen. To take us into next year, we're going to be looking at all the proper stuff. But we'll be discussing, I'm sure, the Cybermen and the look of them in those episodes. So make sure you've subscribed. So thank you very much for that. But I just thought you would, because you asked everybody, there you are. I did have it saved because, of course, you can't get that particular thing now from Mid-Journey.
It looks extremely cool. Well done, Mid-Journey. It's superb. It really is. Yeah.
Would have brought Big Finish into a modern audience as opposed to the stagnant place they've been in for the last 10 or 15 years. But no. What can you do?
And we are waiting to see what goes on with that. So as I say, we'll see what's happening. A lot of you are appreciating that. The Cybermen will survive, says Funky1463. And John Roberts is with us saying Cybermen are my favourite Who enemy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And Legion of James. Never liked the new Who Cybermen when they returned. They look like knockoffs. Did, however, like the revamped look for the story from Matt Smith. Can't remember the name. The Wildly Westy one. Wildly Westy one. Is that the Nightmare in Silver one?
I think I'm confused with the Western one with that kind of cyborgy type thing. That wasn't the Cyberman, was it? The one with the Wild West where the Doctor speaks horse, strangely. Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah. He said he can speak horse.
We have to respect its life choices.
Yeah, and all that kind of nonsense. Yeah. The horse was called Susan, apparently, although it's a bloke. Yeah, that's how it
so
went.
you can see
I don't remember it.
With Moffat, didn't it?
You probably blotted it out. I think I have as well, to be honest.
I have. A lot of nonsense I've just blotted out. Yeah, Nightmare in Silver, they're all saying. Right, okay, fine.
Yeah.
good for that. I'm glad we got that cleared up, everybody.
Town Called Mercy, that's the title, yes. Yeah.
What was that one?
That's the one with the kind of, it's like Terminator coming back to the West to get this scientist who's like, been augmenting people against their will to become cyborgs, and they're like the Terminator. Remember that one? Yeah.
It had Bill Browder in it from Farscape.
That's right. Yeah. He was the sheriff, wasn't he? Yeah.
Sorry. No.
I quite enjoyed that episode. It's quite fun, actually. But yeah.
I bet you that's series 7.
It is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Amy and Rory and everything.
Rubbish.
It's the third episode, I think, isn't it? You've got Asylum of the Daleks. You've got Dinosaurs in Spaceship. Then that one, I think, as far as I can remember off the top of my head.
Well, one day we might look at them if I'm in the mood. Absolutely awful season. But anyway, let's move on. Because we've got a lot to get through tonight. So thank you, everybody, for that one. But yes, we are celebrating a little bit here on Who's Views this evening, because today our very own Kirsty found out that RTD has now blocked us from his Instagram account.
Hey.
Oh, check in, everybody.
Yeah. What a coward. Yeah.
Yes. Well done, everybody. Obviously, we've got under his skin. We're daring to question him and also giving him a piece of our mind every now and then. So well done, everyone. We are blocked now from RTD's Instagram. The T-shirts are on the way. Because I'm delighted by that. Who cares? You silly old fart. We can still see what you're saying. Of course we can. We've got other people out there that will report it, you nonce. So yes, including this week on his Instagram, he has put out that he has finished this new TQ cult drama that he's written for Channel 4, broadcast on Channel 4. As you can see there, he says finished, as though he wants a standing ovation. 5 episodes, Channel 4 2026, made by Key Street Productions, based in Manchester on Stranger Key Street. And then all the other.
I hope it makes more sense than the last episode of series 2. I really do, don't they?
Probably not. But look at this. No. In there are all the usual people. Phil Collinson's in there. Andy Pryor's going to be casting, obviously. Look at all that. Surprise, surprise, still is here.
So he hasn't retired then, Andy Pryor. I was looking forward to that, but he's not.
He may have left Doctor Who, but he's still going on.
Yeah.
And the suggestion was, as we covered a few weeks ago from his own Instagram, that he has parted ways with Doctor Who. But I can guarantee you, if Russell hasn't, neither is he. They're not going to go to anyone else. And he'll want the money as well. So anyway, there we go. On the back of all that, all the usual people came out to kiss his arse and praise him. Let's have a look. Yeah, you've got Andy Pryor casting himself there with 2 hearts and flames. Craig Kelly, who's an actor who was in Queer as Folk, saying amazing.
I think he's in the Richard E. Grant wonderful Screamer Sharka animation as well. Yeah.
He is, as a voice, yeah. Julie Graham.
Yeah, Julie Graham, yeah.
I don't know who that boy is.
She's in loads of different things, yeah, she meant.
She is, yeah. She's actually quite a nice actress, so obviously touting for, available there. Boyo45, I don't know who that is. Hannah Hell is Ryan, I don't know who that is. Sam and David, don't know who that is, but look, all these usual people, part of the cult, all coming out, Gabby Roslin, everybody.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that one. I don't know if I should be surprised or not, but
not an actor. If you're outside the UK, she's a presenter.
Yeah.
She was known for
they all choose the mask that they want to pin their colours to, don't they? They'll regret it in the end, probably sooner rather than later. Hopefully.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. But anyway, there you go, everybody. Ha ha ha. He has finished. Isn't that exciting? Aren't we all delighted?
I hope that means he stopped writing entirely. I'm finished now. I'm stopping. I'm not doing any more. Yeah.
Do you know what, Paul? Jason. Thank you, Jason Parker. RTD is the definite article of an insecure, bitter man who wrecked a successful show, resorted to vomiting the usual TQ plus trite. He only writes. Note the same boring team too. A yawnathon. Boring. That's what I think, Jason, and I think an awful lot of people will as well. I'm going to put my hat in the ring. I think this thing will get very poor viewing figures because it's next year. God knows where we'll be in Britain by then. Hopefully with a bit more common sense taking over, because the state of the United Kingdom right now, my God, it needs to kick up the arse. It needs sorting out and tidying up. But I think this could possibly, Paul, be the last thing he writes unless he gets the Doctor Who gig.
Please don't give him the Doctor Who gig. Can they get rid of him and get someone else?
That'd
Anyone else?
Catastrophic, wouldn't it?
My dog could do a better job than he did, honestly.
Yeah.
You know,
Sooty could do a better job.
Sweet would be much better in control. I think I have Sweet for showrunner, definitely, without a doubt. Yeah.
So that beats the
There are
Paul
a lot of
Daniels
sausage
Doctor Who.
themes in his episodes, to be fair, though, but I'm not going to go there.
Mark Rees for a super chat wants to know, if he's blocked us, then where will he get his best ideas from? Well, that's his point. That's his lookout, isn't it? Thank you for that, Mark. That's brilliant. And Neville's with us. Hello, Neville. How are you? What worries me is that he's now free to return to Doctor Who. Well, he's not at the moment because he is actually executive producing this as well.
Yeah.
And going by his past history, he will be very much involved with the running of the day-to-day show. Yeah. He'll be there. And because this thing is being filmed 25 minutes from where he lives, 30 minutes from where he lives, wherever it's going to be, I can imagine being on set a fair bit as well, to be honest, because Canal Street, and he's going to be going there because people love him and adore him down there because they're all part of this TQ cult. They'll be going, oh my God, it's Russell T Davies. Honestly. Yeah. So that's what's going to happen, I reckon. So at the moment, I think this will take him into next year. We're going to be talking about this in a second. There's no production deal in yet, but I think he's planned this in a sense so that he's in work. Do you know what I mean, guys?
Oh, and also in a way to kind of look like he's saving face. I'm still employed in other things. I don't need Doctor Who. I'm fine, kind of thing. Yeah.
He needs it to be a success, though, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's proving that he's a busted flush, which I think he was a few years ago, to be fair. But he's got to prove it himself.
That plumbing term?
Money at him. They've got to realise it, haven't they?
We've got Terrified Monk saying to us, way to step out of your comfort zone, RTD. Such a talented writer that can write about anything. LOL. Exactly. And we've got Anthony Parkinson with us saying, a gay drama from RTD for Channel 4. What a break from the norm for him. Yeah. Just to be, so I'm a little bit panicky. It's a TQ drama more than a gay drama. It's going to be more about the extreme left-wing ideologies in this. I can guarantee you that in these episodes, the Supreme Court will be mentioned. Trans women are women. Trans men are men. J.K. Rowling. The Labour government, the Tories, it'll all be in there.
I reckon it'll be self-referential and it'll be set in 2023 and I'll have clips from the 60th anniversary with the I'm non-binary scene in it, no doubt, like you did with Queer as Folk, all the Doctor Who references, no doubt,
Yeah, well, that's what made him and brought him to the attention of Doctor Who fans, of course, wasn't it? How let down have we all been? Fantastic, says Bill. Another Channel 4 series I don't have to bother with. Problem being, saying, and none of those effers will watch it. The people that came back, no, they won't. They're just keeping in with him, aren't they? Yes, Cody, you might say that, but we couldn't possibly comment. But you're right, isn't it? I can see it being an absolute flop.
Yeah.
Is Domgo being very, very harsh here about the old Gabby? She's not a presenter. She's a waste of space. And does she do the football now as well?
She maybe she did. I can't remember now. I think she does. Yeah.
Or the sports or something. Jess is saying usual bunch of shills. And wasn't Julie Graham in Sarah Jane Adventures, says Bill?
She was. She was also in an episode of Jodie. I think it was the Timeless Children episode with the Cybermen. Yeah.
Was she?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Obviously,
you missed that, obviously, but. Lucky for you. Yeah.
Well, we've got Marine Boy saying to us here, Gabby Bloody Rosalind, no surprise there. She's always been a bleeding heart liberal. That's true, but they've all gone far too far over, haven't they? And Woodhouse 122 saying, Julie Graham was in the worst Who episode ever, The Timeless Children. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Well, thank you guys for that. That's I've learned something there.
The football Gabby is Gabby Logan.
You're right. Yeah, that's
their surname, because I always knew her as Gabby Yorith because her dad was Terry Yorith, who played for Leeds United years ago.
That's right, yeah.
Right, okay. And, hey, I'm learning things tonight already, Who Views, and we're only in 90 minutes.
I think Gabby Roslin does, there's like a program that they compare purchases and what you can buy at the supermarket here, and they do taste tests and that kind of stuff and product tests, kind of thing on Channel 5. It's really dull. Yeah.
Riveting. Did she not do the Big Breakfast years ago?
She did,
she did.
She did.
Chris Evans and all that, yeah.
Anthony
Mr.
Parkinson
Billy Piper, yes. Yeah, so.
He's saying to us, Tiptoe will be lucky to get Who ratings less than 1.5 million. I think that. And we will be looking at it. We won't be watching it, but we'll be looking at the results and we're looking at the feedback here on Who's Views. Matt Tenspiel is saying, keep that aged hack away from a keyboard. Sheila B in the devotions is saying, blocked me 2 weeks ago. Well, how dare he? The lovely Sheila.
I think, though, to be fair, Tiptoe, even if he gets 1 million, they'll claim it's a success, won't they?
Of course they will.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll get so many awards from the knee-bending, virtue-signaling industry, and his ego will get bigger than it's ever been before, you know.
Can he go anywhere else, to be honest?
Yeah. Lots of you commenting about this as well, but he's not very popular on our channel. Of course he's not. Good evening to Dark Hall. Nice to see you. And Dark Place One is saying, I'm going to make a cardboard medal for RTD. He deserves it.
Cardboard at the very least, yeah.
Good to see Digital Pollution. Hope you're well. How are you? And Chris Lawley as well is with us as well. Oh, look, YW2324. How are you doing? Nice to see you. And Problem being saying to us, well, as long as RTD is all right, he can wave at his former production team in the dole queue from his chauffeur-driven car. There's something in that, I'm sure. Hey, PTA, thank you so much for your super chat. Any news when the war land tosh will be on? No, none at all. Stay with us. As soon as we know, we'll come back and we'll report it. I was still hearing August, but I haven't heard anything for a little while about that, so we don't know. But it must be sometime soon because I'm sure Disney are going to want to break all connections with this show. I know they already have behind the scenes, but they need to do that whole get that on and get it out of the way, don't they, guys?
Yeah, certainly do.
So that brings us to all this. This week, of course, reviews, as you will be well aware, has seen rumor after rumor after rumor. There's lots of stuff going on the old YouTube as well, with various people going on about these rumors and stuff like that. But they're just rumors. There is nothing concrete. Don't believe anything until you see it here on Who's Views, where we say this is the deal. This is what's going on, because we'll report the actual press release. These are some of the things you've seen this week. Doctor Who rumor hints at new streaming home after Disney Plus. Doctor Who, the BBC rumored to be in talks with Netflix and HBO Max to replace the Disney Plus deal. Doctor Who's potential streaming partners revealed after the BBC's Disney Plus deal reportedly imploded. It's all over the place, isn't it? It's you know, it's Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Netflix, HBO. It's just weird how it's suddenly gone on, you know, and they just don't seem at this moment in time to find a suitable financial partner.
Are you surprised by that, really, to be honest, after the 2 seasons we've had? Disney must be saying, don't bother, don't go with them, please don't waste your money, you know?
Yeah. Well, you would imagine, wouldn't you, that these streaming giants have connections to each other. And they will talk. There will be some kind of exchange going on at some level. And it's going to be very, very clear that the Disney stuff was an absolute catastrophic failure. Massive, huge amount of money, nothing to show for it. No merchandise to speak of, people quiet about it, nobody singing its praises, nothing. And yet they expect another streaming giant just to steam in and hand them over loads of cash. I mean, why would anybody with a business head do that?
Yeah.
I mean, not even Sugar Puffs would touch them now, let's be honest, you know what I mean? So,
well, they're not called Sugar Puffs anymore, are they?
What they called, I don't know, I've known for years, I don't know. But
I can't remember, but they're not allowed to be called
Sugar.
Sugar.
Product placement at the back, like Dark Amazing Earth, would have that be fantastic. Yeah.
Sugar's bad for you, so they're not allowed to say sugar.
Yeah, they're just called puffs, I don't think.
We are living, rice puffs, I think they're called. We are living in crazy, insane, overtly liberal times, aren't we? Yeah, absolutely. Just incredible. A lot of you there
haven't done the word puffs, to be honest. I mean, the whole 9 yards, really.
Yeah. We've got a lot of you here in the chat talking about the streaming companies who want back catalogue of classics, says Chris Lawley. Matthew Pounder says better be produced by Dave. And the BBC is over a barrel, and the other streamers have seen what happened to Disney, and they have all the cards. The BBC is a beggar now, not a chooser, says Problem being. I'm inclined to agree with that outlook.
I would as well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What else we got here? Benign Crinoid saying to us, how does Channel 4 still get public money? God knows. The government has clearly got enough for essential services, and it doesn't, does it? I was one of these people that was going on a couple of years back when the then Conservative government were threatening to privatise it, and I said, well, what's the fuss? Do it. Do it. You know, why should we be giving public money to a second broadcaster? You know, because it's not even coming from the TV license. No. So why should we? And I was all for it, because at that time they were doing Naked Attraction, or whatever it's called, and all these horrible, stupid things, which they've continued to do. Yeah. And I just thought, no, because get rid of it, because they can get away with that in the lazy programming now, because they don't need to worry about their finance. They'd have to up their game if they were privatized.
Yeah.
I lost a friend over that as well, because he worked at Channel 4 and he took exception to me going on about it. He didn't like it at all. And I was like, well, tough. That's my opinion. Get on with this. But in typical Channel 4 way, he wouldn't. But there you go. So I have no idea about that one. But yeah, I mean, Madeline Funk is joining us saying a steaming pile of. But you're right. I mean, all those headlines that we've just looked at there as well, that have come from various sources over the last week, have all been inspired and come from Doctor Who fans' discussions on whether it be this platform or the messaging boards or wherever. That's where it's all come from.
Well, it's what we talked about before. This is the stages of cope coming in now, and trying to desperately salvage what might happen in their imaginations, because it's not going to happen, is it? And if it does happen, it'll be more of the same rubbish that we got last time. So
yeah. Woodhouse
is I saw one channel, an American chap, and he was none too critical about some, not us, but none too critical about some, or none too kind rather, about some other more UK or area-based channels. And he was insistent that they were effectively filming now Series 3, and RTD was still there, and that, you know, it's absolute delusion. But that's because
did you get that from?
Just, I think he'd gone to bed the night before and had a dream about what would be his perfect little life and his perfect little world, and he woke up in the morning and thought, therefore, that is what it's going to be, and starts posting about it. It's a complete divorce from reality.
Which is also CBeebies cartoon to look forward to. What more could you want?
Well, that even that's not guaranteed at the moment, because it's still out for pitch. But you know, the whole thing about this is they're the sort of fans that I am concerned about with their utter crazy delusions.
Yeah.
You know, because they're complete denial, and they've been lied to over so many things, especially by the Doctor Who production team. They've been lied to by all society, and they're delusional. They're in their own little world, and then they worry, and then they can't fit into society. It's just concerning. So whoever that American one was, with the best will in the world, you are wrong. It is not in production. He's gone.
I know the one you mean, but I won't name any names. Okay, so
don't name any names.
I won't.
Tell me off air.
Wasn't very pleasant though.
I'll tell you later.
Not a good debater, but not very pleasant. But then that's what these left-leaning psychopaths are like, isn't it? They can't debate.
I'm sorry to anyone in the chat as well, but especially in America.
Yeah.
They think they know everything about Doctor Who. Bugger off. We're in the same country. We know what's going on here firsthand. It takes 6 hours it'll take me to get to Cardiff. We've got beds here. He can walk down the road and give you a photograph of a very quiet building if you want now. Give over. Hey, listen, Woodhouse122 is saying, I have a feeling Who will end up like Mrs. Brown's Boys and just have one special every year funded by the Bee themselves. You may be on the knuckle, because I think that as well.
Brendan for Mrs. Brown Boys for the Doctor. That's what we want. That'll sort out.
No, we're not. Yeah. He's tanked it in, isn't he? He's multi-millionaire now. My God, he's had a lucky break. But
you know, afford him. Yeah.
But you know what? I think that's what could happen. I think BBC Studios with the BBC could fund 1 or 2 specials. I think that's a possibility if they don't get this. A lot of you talking to us in the chat. Thank you so much to Digby for your super chat. Is it me, or has RTD's rep tanked faster than our current prime ministers? No, you're right.
I think it's on a par, I would say. Yeah,
I'd say it's on a par. Yeah.
Nobody cares, do they, about RTD? You can go and ask, hello, Coffee Master. You can go out and ask anybody in the public, and they won't know who he is.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
No. Not so. And Marie, thank you for your super chat. Did you see the BBC presenter Martin Croxall correct the woke BBC script live on air? I'm hoping this is a sign the tide is turning. Yeah, I talked about that in Live at 6 tonight as well. Yeah. Very proud of her. Very proud of
the pregnant person woman thing. Yeah, I remember that was brilliant.
Yes. She told them exactly what she thought about it there. Good for her. She wasn't standing any other nonsense. What else we got here? Margie 75 is sent to us. HBO. That's Margie. HBO will not risk losing any money over this tosh. I don't think they will either. And Paul Schlauchter is saying to us, I hate that our beloved show is being thrown out between these potential streamers. I just want someone to make brilliant Doctor Who again. Part of me thinks it's not going to happen. I can't stand the fact that they are just plainly using Doctor Who to try and make money. And they think that Doctor Who's the thing that's going to make them millions. And they've taken it away, Paul, from the Doctor Who we know and love because they want it to be on a scale with Star Wars.
What I still don't understand is, though, what Russell offered them, because I've read various articles that Disney are unhappy with what they got in the end. So what did Russell promise them, and what went wrong between promising and delivering? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's a bit weird, isn't it, really? But
well, what he promised them, I think, is what he did back in 2005 to 2008.
But that was a complete lie, though, wasn't it? Because he didn't do that at all, did he?
Total. And they let him.
We all know it's aged really badly as well, don't we?
Yeah. And as we've said many times on the show, we've got no sympathy for BBC Studios either, or Bad Wolf, because they allowed him to push his own personal agendas into a science fiction show where there shouldn't be any, in his attempt to tell society, this is how you should think, because I think you should.
And why they didn't read the scripts, why they didn't watch the rushes, the dailies, check through it and say, well, we don't like this, we don't want that, change that, do
Hire
that.
a proper script editor with balls to turn around to him saying that's rubbish.
Yeah. Someone I say that, if you can't like that, that's crap. Yeah.
Hi, Heretic. Hi, Heretic. True. Good to see you.
If it's true what they were saying, though, about one of the streamers wanting to make it more science fiction and not have RTD involved, then that is the no-brainer choice to go for if they went for any at all. Just accept those terms, get rid of him, ditch the bitch, basically.
The thing about Russell is he claimed that he thinks his camp version of Doctor Who, i.e. the version he created in 2005, was why it was a success. And he's repeating that format. But you can see it wasn't a success when he came back because the ratings were really poor. So it doesn't work anymore, does it? You know?
No. But the industry is so...
No, it wasn't, no.
The industry is so up its own arse and pretentious and extremely far left. You know yourself, Paul, they're not going to listen to this because we're all the bad guys. So, like I said, a few weeks ago on the Stage Facebook page, I had a row online, if you can call that a row, with these idiots from the industry who had started a conversation, headline, why are we not getting bums on seats? Why is the public not coming along? And then I offered my opinion of why. Your seats are too expensive. And then when you sit there with your 75 to 100 and something pound ticket, you're lectured to. You're told about trans issues. You're told white people are bad, blah, 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 blah. And I listed everything. And they come back and no, that's not the reason, blah, blah, blah. They are utterly insane.
Yeah, well, they can't argue with you about it because there's no answer to the question. You're right, they're wrong. That's the thing.
We are the great unwashed, and we know that's how the BBC looks at the people that pay for it. We are the ones that have to be educated, and that's why they turned a blind eye to RTD's absolutely stupid scripts. That pile of doggy doo-doo. Give it to Tom and see what he says. Seagull6819, good to see you. Fans of the last 5 or so years have achieved a level of natural stupidity no amount of training could ever hope to match, as someone once said. The training that they've all had, though, is about DEI and unconscious bias training. And we've reared a hell of a lot of young people now that actually live their lives by that. And that's one of the reasons I don't recognize my country anymore and don't feel safe in this country at the moment. And P. Ferreira is saying to us, there are people still saying the ratings are great because it's in the top 10 most watched BBC shows. Well, to be quite honest, you could have had 5 people watching a BBC show and it would have got in the top 10.
Yeah. If it's the BBC's top 10, I mean, that's only the BBC's top 10. It's not the top 10 of all the channels, is it? You know what I mean? So
yeah. And the BBC is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. They're losing license fee payers daily by the thousands, and people are not watching their stuff. Hello to Warflare1312. Nice to see you. If they find a new partner, will the next episode be called Attempt 4, Episode 1? Yeah. Let's see what happens with that. I'm hoping it'll just be a reboot and they can just go again. And thank you for your super chat, Heretic. Unhinged woman tweeted saying, get me off Turf Island because the new reporter changed person to woman live on air. We need to talk about mental health. I'm sick and tired of trying to talk about the mental health of people in this country because they're running everything. honestly. They're running everything, so they shut us up.
Yeah. And that's the problem. No chance for discussion. That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you for that, Heretic, as well. This is all good, and what you're all saying to us again is brilliant here. Talking about the BBC, though, the BBC have been very quiet, of course, when it comes to Doctor Who, simply because BBC Studios that are producing Doctor Who is in some sort of contractual agreement, as we know, with Disney Plus. Now, although that may have ended, there will be even gentlemen's agreements, as we used to call it in the old days, to say they can't say anything until after this fish people thing or whatever, because they don't want to.
It'll all come out then after that. Then, yeah.
But you don't. The BBC is in no way going to want to pee off Disney because they might want them again in the future.
Yeah,
not just for Doctor Who, but for anything else. But isn't it interesting how the BBC itself will bend the rules for certain shows? You may have heard that over the last couple of weeks, a massive hit to this very day on the BBC is a show called Call the Midwife, which has been going for nigh on 6,000 years.
And Doctor Who's been in it twice. Yeah.
Yes, it's been featured twice. But Call the Midwife is very, very popular with the Notwees. I can tell that several members of my family watch it. They love it. It's been going for several years now, as I say, and it started in, I think, the late 50s, early 60s. And as the show and the series has progressed, it's gone through the years.
Yeah.
In the last couple of weeks, it was announced that the BBC was axing it. Call the Midwife has a big fan base, just like Doctor Who does. And those fans weren't happy. And guess what those fans got? They got a BBC statement. Have a look at this. Call the Midwife isn't going anywhere, BBC says, after rumours that the series is ending. Call the Midwife will remain at the heart of the BBC for years to come. This is, of course, being reported by the Radio Times. The article continues to go on. Rumours that Call the Midwife is coming to an end following its up-and-coming 15th season have been dismissed by the BBC. The future of the award-winning series, which has been airing for more than a decade, seemed uncertain after the Daily Star, bearing in mind that they broke a lot of Doctor Who stories, claimed that it wouldn't be back for a full season after the 15th lands in 2026. Tabloid reports suggested it might follow in the footsteps of Downton Abbey and stick to the movie format going forward, with a Call the Midwife film set overseas in 1972 already confirmed, allegedly. However, the BBC has now insisted that season 16 will arrive in due course, and the show will continue to be a major part of its programming. The BBC would like to reassure fans that the Call the Midwife will remain at the heart of the BBC for years to come, the broadcaster said. As previously announced, there are 2 Christmas specials, a new series, a film, and a prequel series before a 16th series in due course. Call the Midwife isn't going anywhere. It echoes what creator Heidi Thomas, good for her by the way, said last month upon the announcement of the new prequel series and film. The opening of new doors at Nonatus, I think that is, house, feels profoundly emotional and yet just right, Thomas explained. I have never run out of stories for our midwives, and I never will. Thomas went on to tease there will be so much in the prequel for our wonderful, loyal fans, including the appearance of some familiar, if much younger faces. As the classic Call the Midwife series moves further into the 1970s, it also seems the perfect time for our much-loved regulars to take a short break from Poplar and test themselves in an unfamiliar landscape. More details for the prequel, the Hong Kong set Christmas special, and the upcoming movie are to follow in the coming months.
Now, that started off like the press release for Doctor Who initially, but
from
then
1985.
Yeah, and then they've got more information. Why can't we get the same information? I don't understand.
That's the point. That's my point on this. So the Call the Midwife series is bigger than Doctor Who right now, as we know. And yet that rumour was scotched very, very quickly by the BBC because it's their prize and it's their glory, pride and joy. So they've scotched that. Look what it's giving as well. Now, Call the Midwife, Ian, seems to be more of a powerhouse than Doctor Who. They've got a prequel series coming. They have a movie set in Hong Kong. They've got the series coming back and a range of Christmas specials.
I was going to ask quickly, can we get Bedweir on the phone to tell us what the ratings were for the Call the Midwife last season?
I don't know if
the rating that Russell T Davis could only beg at. I mean, I was thinking, JT, like you, it sounded very much like the press release for 1985. And I was wondering, I've never watched it. Although I think the lady that played Verity Lambert in the Doctor Who.
She was in that, yes.
Yeah.
stunningly gorgeous woman. That's all I have to say. But I don't know how many episodes in a season, if it's 6 for an hour or whatever. I imagine them coming back with 8 at half an hour, like they did with Doctor Who. Instead of 13, 45 minutes, they came back with a longer series of 14 episodes, but at 25 minutes, didn't they? Yeah. That's how they stiffed the Doctor Who fans in the mid-80s. That's what it reminded me of.
I just thought it was funny because the whole thing about that is the Call the Midwife fans, as I say, are like Doctor Who fans, and they were very vocal, and they get a press release. Doctor Who fans can go jump.
Yeah.
You know, it shows you, doesn't it? A lot of two-tier stuff going on in this country, sadly, at the moment. Yeah. And here's another one, really, in a sense. Where's the Midwife Unleashed, says Benign Crinoid. Who knows? Maybe it's an idea they haven't thought of, yes.
Do you think there's some YouTube channels doing the exact same thing we do, but called The Midwife?
Yeah, because they're fans. Yeah. And it doesn't matter. I mean, it's 15, 16 years old now, this show. Obviously, it's doing very, very well to have a BBC press release saying it's not going anywhere. It's staying there. The prequel show, which is lots of characters. Also, you've got to bear in mind, and the Call the Midwife fans might not like this, but you've got to bear in mind that the midwives were sort of phased out of Britain in the late 80s. So it's got a shelf life.
Yeah.
So again, unlike Doctor Who, which didn't have a shelf life if done properly, this lot, the production team, the writer, Heidi Thomas, etc., they have put into plans to say, how do we keep this going?
That's why they're doing the prequel. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the prequel and the movie, because at some point the main show will have to end because the midwives mutated into what we've got today.
Yeah,
you know. So
do you think they're concerned? Do you think they're concerned if it is getting ratings still? Do you think they're concerned that if they did can it, it would just go to another channel and be a success there?
Yes.
What, with Disney or something, you mean, yeah?
Well, I mean, ITV would take it like that. Channel 4, Channel 5. And we know that Channel 5 are doing brilliantly because they've got All Creatures Great and Small, which has been renewed for another 3 series, as we know. They've got that new version of the Foresight saga on the way. They've got that thing from the makers of All Creatures Great and Small, which I haven't seen yet, but I've got it all recorded, which is that Yorkshire family thing I'm really interested in seeing. They've got another thing in development because they've got some really good dramas. They'd take it. They'd take it, no problem. You know, so it's very competitive for the BBC. And as we reported last week, drama now is so expensive to do. It just smacked me as very interesting that this. Peter Cregan should sue for copyright infringement, said Funky1463. And Fan01ish is saying it isn't being axed, it's merely being rested.
It's on hiatus, yes. Yeah.
Madeline
Which
Funk
always sounds very painful if you ask me, but yeah.
Madeline Funk says, I await the BBC cartoon called The Midwife.
Do you think some people will be producing some kind of protest record?
No, they're too sensible. Deliver it now. We want it back. Yes. I could write one. We've got Stephen O'Neill saying, Call the Midwife will come to an end if the BBC license fee ends. I tell you something, there would be riots in my family if that show was ever to come off. Honestly, there's the women in my family that have loved this thing for years. They're addicted to it, just like I am to Doctor Who.
Have they got shelves and shelves of merchandise in their houses? Have they as well? But called the Midwife team, I mean.
I don't think so, but I know there's a few DVDs dangled around.
Okay,
and now
it started. They'll have the Call the Midwife annual for years and years as well. I bet they do.
Yeah. Well, you can get the books, but you can also get repeats of the original series, of course, on all the other channels now.
Yeah.
So, there you go. What else we got here as well? Anyone else fed up of prequels, said Legion James? Yes, but they're so unoriginal, aren't they? Marie saying to us, the BBC cancels shows we love and try to shove shows nobody wants down our throats. The big thing about Call the Midwife, though, it's huge. It is huge. It's incredibly popular, and it's got a fan base that would take us on like that, and they'd probably win. I wouldn't want to face them. Oh, no. And what's this with the Peter Venkman fan? A prequel. That sounds like a new version of the show.
Yeah.
And Seagull saying to us as well, prequel to Call the Midwife, the mind boggles.
Yeah.
They're just very young.
I'm surprised they've not tried to do it with us. You know, the early adventures of the Doctor on Gallifrey with the Master. Yeah.
Wow.
They were boring. Yeah.
They did, didn't they? Back in 2005, they did.
Yeah.
And Russell stopped them. Now he'd say, "Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do it."
Yeah. When the Doctor was a little girl, that's what he wanted to do. Yeah.
Didn't they?
Yeah.
anybody in the chat saying like the prequel involved the conception? No, that's not the BBC way.
Yeah.
That's more Channel 4. And Fan 01
Naked Attraction again, I think. Yes.
And Fan 01 ish, as well as some of you other rest of it. They should do a crossover with Doctor Who. It sounds like it's doing a lot better. Coffee Master is reminding you, Ian, it was Jessica Raine.
Yes.
That's nice of you. Thank you for that, Coffee Master. It was Jessica Raine.
It was bugging me.
Yes.
Yeah, she's great as well. She is. Yeah. Yeah.
One for you, Paul, from Craig, who's saying that Called the Midwife averaged 7 to 8 million viewers last season.
Oh well, that's so much better than Doctor Who, and it just proves again what we've always said: good drama gets good ratings. So there you are.
Exactly.
There we are.
Exactly. And the brilliant thing about that is that the BBC do celebrate the overnights for Called the Midwife when they come through. It's a hit drama. Oh, we got 7.9 million. I remember one headline being in the Mirror. Congratulations to that. Oh, the BBC saying, "Oh, it's brilliant." But it's a flagship show. You know,
but that's the thing that's so contradictory, isn't it? I mean, that's a good figure. Doctor Who's figures aren't good, but they're still claiming they're good. Compared to that, they're certainly not, are they? You know?
Yeah. I mean, well, if it's getting 7 to 8 million overnight, what's it getting with the iPlayer in a week?
Yeah. Or after 28 days, even. You know what I mean? If they have to measure that thing,
yeah. What, Ian?
What's it getting with its plus 57 or plus 126?
Yeah.
You're right, though, Paul. We do need to get February on the case.
Yeah. And we've also got to remember as well that BBC Studios have sold it abroad. So if you're around and about, you can get it. And I do know from some of my friends in America that they have seen Called the Midwife. It's not for them, but they watched it because it was promoted apparently the same way as Downton Abbey was, and they liked Downton Abbey. Another British classic, you know, which worked for All Creatures, because All Creatures Great and Small, the new version, is massive over there apparently as well, and doing really well around the globe. But you know, I can't watch. I watched Called the Midwife years ago and thought, "Ooh, no, I don't like this. It's not for me." I think it's a girly thing. Oh, I'm terrible at gendered people. As Julianne is saying here, I'm surprised the BBC have continued to run Called the Midwife. I would have thought the BBC executives would consider the monogendered nature of the profession problematic. She's not wrong, is she?
Yeah, thank God they can't do it in the 21st century because there are no midwives now. So, in the same sense, in the same format, I mean, you know.
Yeah. And Sean, nice to see you. Thank you for your super chat here. Oh, to give for Terry Matalas a go at Doctor Who. Who's that?
No idea.
Terry Matalas. Is that the shop? Oh no, that's Matalas. All the shops are available. What? Who? you have to tell us, Sean, because we don't know. Benign, thank you for that though. Anyway, and Benign Crinoy is saying to us, but do the Call the Midwife collection sets sell? They don't have collection sets. They're all individual, and they must have done. But you can tell what.
Are there any missing episodes?
No,
that can be dubbed up in Hong Kong or somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, is that why their film is set in Hong Kong?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe they'll do behind the sofa or be behind the bed or something, like kind of thing.
Yeah. Listen, we might be sort of tongue in cheek with this, but we have to acknowledge the fact that Call the Midwife is massive. It's huge, and it's getting a different treatment to Doctor Who.
Yeah,
they came out.
It's really interesting, isn't it? It is. Yeah.
Yes, the BBC came out immediately to say, "Don't panic. It's not cancelled. Of course, it's not. We've got a movie. We've got a next series. We've got Christmas specials, and we've got a prequel series. Surely the fans are happy." With that, I would be if they came back to us if Doctor Who was any good and saying that's what you get. And why is it, everybody in the chat, he says, going off again, why is it that huge hits like Downton Abbey and Called the Midwife got movies and Doctor Who didn't?
And you think that'd be a no-brainer, wouldn't you? You know, but
I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there. Two huge shows. Doctor Who was up there for a little while with them. Didn't get a movie. Thank you, Sean. Series 3 of Picard. Oh, really? He did that one, did he? The one the fans liked. Is he American?
Yes.
Oh, I don't want him then.
It was a good series as well, especially the last couple of episodes. It really.
I did watch it. I did watch it when I looked at Amazon Prime. I watched it. I thought it was very good. I'm glad I didn't have to watch all the rest of it. You know, the other two series. But it's the only thing about that.
Very hard going in parts.
Well, the only thing that was good about the fact was it was just a memory berry, wasn't it? You know, it was oh, there's the Enterprise D, and oh, here's this, and it was familiar. And that's why it was good, because it was sort of rewarding for that sense. Oh, there's the thing with Kirk's DNA in there and all this sort of, it was all these lovely little bits. So series 3 was good for that, but it was because it was for fans, whereas Doctor Who has to be for everybody. It has to be for the British public, the worldwide public, as well as the fans, you know? No?
No, I agree, but not for a minority audience, that's for sure. No.
Yeah.
Which is what they did, isn't it?
Yeah.
Scott Andrew Brass is saying to us, I've got the Call the Midwife bathrobes and towel collection. Wouldn't surprise me if they were out there. It doesn't. And now I'm getting confused.
This is not be flippant. Do they have Call the Midwife conventions as well? And people have cosplay as nurses and stuff like that, and doctors and like Stephen McGann and things like that. Because Stephen McGann's in it, isn't he? So yeah.
Stephen McGann is it. As far as I'm aware, yes, they have started to do meetups, as they call them. They wouldn't call them conventions. Remember, a lot of these people will be of a certain age, and they have started to do meetups around the country, like the old local groups for us. So yes, that's apparently what is happening.
They could call them postnatals, couldn't they?
They could.
They are very. They are very. It's a big fandom, and think about it. The majority of that fandom are women of a certain age. The BBC must be shaking in their boots.
Yes.
You don't want to pee them off any more than they have done by telling them that men are women. You know,
character options must be missing a trick here as well, surely. You know,
I doubt it.
A 5-inch pregnant person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And or woman, depending on how you approach it.
Yeah. We've got this super chat here. Thank you so much from Mark Greaves for your super chat. We've got this here saying, Call the Midwife gets all those projects and we get a spin-off we don't want based on Morrison's fish counter. Yes, true. On that point here, we've got here Neville saying Call the Midwife will only now feature pregnant people. Chris Lawley saying to us, Peter Davison summed up recent Doctor Who. Yes, we talked about that last week, Chris, on our show last week. And the carcass, it's always been the BBC struggle to understand what Doctor Who is and who the audience is. Correct. It really has. They need people that know what they're doing and they haven't got them. And also, thank you for your super chat, Darren and Hembrow. Thank you very much. Doctor Who movie would be great if RTD didn't get involved. I often see his drunken mumbles possible when he writes his scripts. RTD, yeah, if you want to lose billions, then put RTD in charge of a Doctor Who movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which they will do, the way that Hollywood and all the film industry is going at the moment. So they were quite happy to do it, wouldn't they? Snow White. So, yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for your super chat. But talking about merchandise from Call the Midwife, I'm sure if there is anything there, it's going to be better than all of ours as Doctor Who. Because, of course, as you all know, Who viewers, Doctor Who merchandise has currently gone down the pan in the toilet, hasn't it? It's hardly any around. The stuff that's the new series has given us is being, well, let's face it, crap. Can you name any of it? Let's think. There's books, CDs, and very small amounts of character options, Shooty Gatwa action figure dollies, a Barbie dolly. It's not that good, is it, guys? It's not what we're used to.
When I think of Gatwa's era merchandise and Tennant and Whittaker as well, the only linking phrase or term that I can think of is landfill.
Yeah. And the Whittaker era brought it all on as well, didn't we? You know, none of us seem to be interested in the Whittaker stuff either, and that's a lot of that's gone to landfill. So on that, I would hasten to add now, if you are interested in the Shooty Gatwa and the David Tennant 2, there were a range of T-shirts available, wasn't there? Most of us forgot.
Yes. And
it's no surprise that this week Forbidden Planet have announced that they are now all on sale. Yes, this lot of nonsense is available now for the price of $3.99 or $4.99. Yes, that's $3.99 or $4.99, everybody. Look at this. You've got the one with Catherine Tate there from the anniversary specials, allegedly, at $3.99. The tenor version, $4.99. You've got something about the Goblin King. And
that's
then
what I want. Yeah.
$4.99. Reduced from anywhere between $17.99 and $19.99. What does this tell you guys?
Yeah, that's incredible.
Tells you that Goblin King picture looks very much like RTD, really, doesn't it?
Yeah,
the mouth.
Yeah.
What was the last one?
It's the Goblin woman thing, Janice, or whatever her name was.
Oh, Janice. Okay, yeah. Janice Goblin. Yeah, that awful pun. Yeah.
It doesn't stop there, though, because we then go into the era of the alleged 15th Doctor with these hideous designs. All at $4.99, reduced from $17.99 to $19.99, exclusive to Forbidden Planet. These didn't sell, obviously. I wonder why.
That's a real shame. The second one along with the TARDIS looks quite nice if they took all the rainbow crap out of it, though.
They just carried on what they did for Whittaker. And that's where they got it wrong. And it says to me, everybody, that they, again, as we were saying in the chat, didn't know the audience, and they were pandering to the minority audience that they thought was coming to the show. They should have known at the end of the Whittaker era that minority audience wasn't going to arrive because they left with Jodie.
I think what you see behind you, JT, and you, Paul, and myself, you see people that buy Doctor Who merchandise. And if we wouldn't touch shit like that, then that should be a huge red flag.
Yeah, I didn't think how much money I've spent on Doctor Who over the years and my dedication to the show that I really love. And they're missing an opportunity here, a real massive business opportunity. And it's going to cost them dearly. It really is.
Yeah. It's true. Again, a lot of you in the chat saying to us all things that all these shirts are crap, says Marjorie. Yes, they are. And Fan01ish, God bless you. Whose Views t-shirts are still better value. Tony Crosby is saying, please give me a t-shirt with all the classic monsters on. That would be one hell of a t-shirt. What
happened to the Guardian of Chaos, the Black Guardian one? That seemed to disappear very quickly, didn't it?
It did, really. Yeah. I don't know if it's still there, but you can have a look at this if you're interested. Send the t-shirts to pensioners for the winter. They can layer them on and throw the rest on a fire to keep warm, says Problem Being. And Paul Schlefter is saying to us, it would be interesting to see how the classic series t-shirts sold. I think we know the answer to that. And Digital Pollution, I have my 4th Doctor, TARDIS and Tom, K9 and a couple of Daleks. That's all the merchandise I need. You weren't the only one there, mate, because nobody bought these. There are 2 more in the sale. Honey, I'm here for fun, exclaims the alleged 15 Doctor for $4.99. Yes, $4.99, reduced from $17.99. And then the publicity picture from the alleged 60th anniversary specials of Gatwa there for $5.99, reduced from $17.99. So these things obviously didn't sell. They've been thrown into the sale, and I bet you these still don't sell.
Yeah. They'll get to the stage they'll pay you to take them away because it's cheaper rather than storage.
Well, yeah, they might even be free eventually, so they can get rid of the space.
And you still wouldn't touch them. Yeah.
No. Why? Yeah. No, you wouldn't, would you? But if you're tuning into us by mistake and you are a Shooty Gatwa fan, then that's where you can go now. It's Forbidden Planet all around the country for you. They are getting rid of their Gatwa material. And it's no surprise because let's face it, Shooty Gatwa was an amazing flop as Doctor Who. Was he Doctor Who? No. We came to that conclusion over 2 very painful series of watching his crap, didn't we, guys?
Well, quite early on in the run, we discovered he wasn't the Doctor, and he continued that trend all the way through it, So
yeah, of course, the poor writing didn't help him as well, but a lot of it has to come down to the fact, as I've said before, and I'm sure I'm not alone, he's a very unlikable man.
That aside, though, he's not Doctor material. I've said this many times before. Certain actors can play the part, and certain actors can't. And he's in the latter category. He's not the right type of actor to play it.
Agreed. Yeah, he didn't have the magic, did he? He didn't have the capability.
No.
And the production messed him around as well. But he didn't. But he also didn't help himself, as we all know, because as we've been reporting on headlines for over a year, 18 months. He told us all to go and touch grass, didn't he? All these sorts of things. We know that he and Virado Setu on set were absolutely joyous in their assumption that Doctor Who would upset a lot of viewers because they were on the set of the TARDIS rather than 2 white people. All this nonsense going on. He's become a very nasty, nasty person. And I put it to you, everybody watching the show, that we are very, very lucky that the bugger's gone. Yeah. Because this weekend, he was out and about again, wasn't he? In this hoodie, which says Choose Love, which of course is taken from the old 80s Wham t-shirts, inspired by those. And I think, guys, he's got an absolute cheek wearing something like that, because he and his people, they may be talking about virtues and they may be talking about righteousness and the right side of history and stuff, but have any of them actually ever shown any love at all?
No.
It just typifies the hypocrisy, doesn't it? They're extreme far left, and they spout about being kind and everything else, and they are the nastiest gits on the planet, basically.
And that was shown with his new best friend, of course. He knows Jade. ex-Little Mix. She's now forging a solo career in the country. And I'm just going to apologize to a couple of friends of mine at this moment who think she's brilliant. She's not. She needs a bath. She's absolutely awful. And Shooty's along with her. At Glastonbury, now there's been a lot of problems going on at Glastonbury, as we all know, yesterday and indeed into today as well. I don't know why they didn't, why they were all in the field, ran them up. Continue. But there we go. Shooty Gatwa was there introducing Jade yesterday, as reported by the Daily Mail. Shooty Gatwa pays tribute to the trans community following woke Doctor Who exit in surprise Glastonbury appearance as he introduces Jade Thirlwell in foul-mouthed speech. So do you remember the days when, you know, John and Tom, Peter, Colin and Sylve wouldn't even be seen with, you know, a drink in their hand, or in Tom's case, a fag in his mouth or anything like that, you know? Yeah, do you remember these days, guys? Because they thought it was important that the Doctor was the Doctor. Those days are long gone.
Oh, yeah.
Long gone. Because whether he's out of the show or not, what Shooty Gatwa, possibly even Whittaker, and any new ones coming along realise is that they're still the Doctor to a lot of people, except in Gatwa's case, maybe not, because not many people watched him. But you know what I'm saying. Let's look at this particular article and then we'll have a chat. Shooty Gatwa paid tribute to the trans community in a surprise Glastonbury appearance on Saturday as he took to the stage to introduce Jade Thirlwell ahead of her solo debut. The former Doctor Who star, 32, I love that, so I'll say it again. The former Doctor Who star was in high spirits as he welcomed the crowd at the Woodsies stage, and he welcomed Pop's new princess in a foul-mouthed speech. Shooty said, "Are you feeling hot, sweaty? Well, it's about to get hotter and sweatier because Pop's new crown princess is in the building." Well, it's in a field. What's showing about the building? Anyway, I hope you... Yes. So, I'm not going to even go to his lengths on this one. Ladies and gentlemen, theys and thems, all our beautiful trans brothers and sisters, the performance is about to begin. He concluded, flash photography and video is encouraged. Enjoy the show. So we all know why they want that to happen, so she can go viral. Moments later, the ex-Little Mix star, also 32, made a show-stopping entrance, allegedly, turning heads, allegedly, as she hit the stage in a skim-tight white crop top emblazoned with the word Glasto. It comes after Shooty was replaced by Billy Piper after stepping down from his role as the Time Lord following falling ratings and accusations of woke storylines. Good, they got that in. Doctor Who was watched by around about 2.5 million the last Saturday, around 2 million fewer people than the numbers watching when Jodie Whittaker was on the show. This is still a tiny fraction of the sort of interest it used to attract. At its peak, it was watched by around 13 million on a Saturday night in the 60s, 70s and 80s. The sex education actor appeared to blame the physical and mental demands of the show for his exit in a new video following fan speculation that he was axed from the show. He's not very classy, is he, guys?
So he's no stammerer. How can he be knackered by doing 16 episodes of Doctor Who? It's like
they're all spineless melts, aren't they? I mean, this singer person, if that's what she is, surely she would make a stunning performance if she sang well. Surely, if she's a singer, why is it about how tight her top is? I don't get it. Shouldn't it be about how her voice sounds?
Well, from what I can tell about this young lady who's come from Little Mix, it is all about the look. It's all about the sexual presence of her alleged act. I mean, these kids think that they are shocking us. We grew up with the likes of bloody Madonna and Deborah Harry for crying out loud. You're not shocking any of us, for heaven's sake. It's all been done before. You're just tacky. These new ones coming along are tacky and talentless. Do you think their music is going to be played in 30 years? Rod, wasn't he? Rod Stewart was the Legend stage tonight, and yes, okay, he's had a few boos because he's dealing with a far left community down there, you know, an audience down there, from what I can tell. Rod's 80-something years old, knows better, and is churning out hits from his entire career.
Yeah,
is Jade Thirlwell going to be doing that? No. Jade, choose deodorant, said Marie UK for a super chat. Thank you, Marie UK. But no, that's the problem with it now, isn't it? You know, and that whole thing. But that's the thing with her, Ian. It is as with some of the other girls in the industry now, these young ones. It's about how much sexual innuendo they can get there to get the headlines because they think they're being shocking.
It's a shame, really, isn't it? But at the same time, they'll also mention about sexual objectification, and there they are. You know, if they tried putting some clothes on, maybe, I don't know. I'm not telling people what to wear. I wouldn't dream of it, but they do seem a little bit hypocritical sometimes.
Exactly. What have we got here? 8 years of dross since Capaldi left the series. So Stephen O'Neill and Cody saying to us, guys, aren't his 15 minutes over? Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully on the way.
He's got about a minute and a half to go, I'm hoping, yeah. So.
Oh, gosh, can you imagine? I don't know why he's still around. Anyway, Stephen and Ginny Frisk saying trans activists are absolutely vicious. They even turn on gay men. Oh, as well we know. Ask Gareth Roberts, and their treatment of J.K. Rowling is abominable. Yeah, well, Gareth, of course, if you don't know, Stephen and Ginny Frisk has been on this show, and you can find it in our headlines playlist. Not now, but after the show, and he came on and talked about it. It was great chat. Graham is saying to us here, this bloke is a disgrace. He's an insult to the likes of Bill, Pat, John, etc., and he's not fit to lace their boots. He's really shown his true colours, hasn't he, really? Since, don't forget, he finished filming Doctor Who last year. And since he wrapped and therefore out of contract, I think he tried to behave for a little while. But at these festivals and stuff, and with his little cult around him, he can't, can he? He just goes for it, doesn't he?
Well, I think that the rumours that when he first started doing it, he was told off for a bit of bad behaviour and being seen at parties, allegedly doing certain things that he shouldn't be doing, recreational things, shall we say, and things like that. And I think he's no idea of what he was getting into. As we said before, this was him thinking, yes, this will launch me to Hollywood. Nothing to do with the show at all. No interest in the character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
I'm sure that's what it was. I think a lot of them were, but him especially. I mean, there are now pictures out there now from when he was filming The Devil's Board, and they were on location at Abbey Road. And I can't help thinking about how lucky we were, guys, to grow up with the likes of John and Tom. Because Tom he was famous for saying he wouldn't be seen out anywhere with a fag in his hand or a pint, in case it was seen by the children. But now there's these photographs that are coming out of filming on the Devil's Board, and there's Shooty puffing on a fag.
Yeah. There is one Tom Baker one you may have seen a clip. There's one Tom Baker one, I think it's on the Doctor's video that came out years ago, and there's a tiny clip from Shadow on it where Tom's caught with a cigarette and you see him pointing to the guy with the camera. It's a lovely moment, but I forgive him that, but he did.
That's not that. I forgive him that because that would have been a crew member.
Yeah.
And it would have been leaked in those days to the press.
Yeah.
I think that was Steve Camden, because he mentioned it in one of his books, Doctor's Effect, I think, or something like that, where Tom had actually spoken to him and said, please don't, because, he very, very, very conscious of the image he portrayed to children.
Oh, yeah.
And I miss those days because it's all gone out the window. They don't care now. And as you're saying, Paul, and as we've said before, Gatwa was using this as a vehicle to break America for him, and it hasn't. It hasn't. And had the Disney deal gone ahead, he would have done that third series in a further attempt to get into the States, but it hasn't. It doesn't seem to be working. He's back in the UK doing this play now, hasn't he? I don't like the guy. I've made my mind up now after 2 years of watching his antics and his lack of ability. Can't be done with this. And I can't stand actors coming into Doctor Who using it as a vehicle to try and break America and get a different career. I think it's about time we went back to an older actor that doesn't give a toss about all that stuff, but just is concerned about the show and proper scripts.
Well, that's fair to give him the benefit of the doubt when he was cast, but now I think he's burnt his bridges as far as I'm concerned,
Hopefully we'll never see him again.
Hopefully. So my heading of Shooty Who hopefully will become a reality. So not Doctor Who, but just Shooty Who. Yeah.
We've got here as well Mark Greaves from a super chat saying turned heads and loads of stomachs. There's a lot of that going on, and even from people that weren't there this weekend, wasn't there? Dr. Red Who Dwarf, good to see you. Remember back-to-back filming in Hartnell Troughton's day. Gatwa is lazy or a liar. Yeah. I mean, goodness me, he wouldn't be able to tolerate the things that Bill Hartnell and Troughton.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, I think those guys were amazing. Even Pertwee and Baker, they did much longer than Shooty ever did, and they never complained about it. It's like,
but when you look at in the days of Hartnell and Troughton, all year round job, just the one job, just the one role.
Yeah.
1 week off there, 1 week off 48 there.
48 weeks filming.
Yeah.
Or something like that, wasn't it?
A week's rehearsal for an episode, then filming at the end of the week, and then it gets broadcast like 2 weeks later. Incredible turnaround, really.
And yet these young ones that are coming on in their 30s who take on the role complain about the fact that they have to go to Cardiff, complain about the fact that they do, as in Shooty's case, they did 2 series back to back with a break for Christmas. Well, don't take the bloody role then.
Yeah, and even with that, there was like 3 Doctor Light episodes he wasn't even in properly. Exactly. It's like, God's sake, how little can you possibly do? It's like...
Problem being saying to us, Gatwa and little, or whatever she calls, are nothing but total trash. And our own Kirsty is saying she's the icon for the gays, GHEYs, and the 90s zeros look, but makes it look needing a wash or unwashed charity clothes. She's certainly not an icon for me because I'm an adult. And if I ever saw her, I'd have a store, talk to her, and probably slap her with a wet fish. She just looks common to me as well. She does look like she needs a bath. There's
a bit of a chavtastic look about her, isn't there? Really, to be honest.
There is. It's an old-fashioned look, I think, as well now. What else have we got here? Nice to see you all. Thanks for joining us. It's great. Connie 360's in the chat as well. Nice to see you. And Josh H is saying to us, Franz Ferdinand featuring Peter Capaldi was better. Well, again, they're adults. Yeah. Because Peter Capaldi was there as well with Franz Ferdinand, the band. Didn't really pay much attention to it because I was put off looking at Glastonbury. Really.
Was it like Doctor Who Day or something? What happened?
Yeah. Well, this is the other thing. Jess Corbin saying that Jade led the crowd. Now, I don't think it was the Glastonbury crowd, Jess. I think it was another one she did recently where she was chanting FU towards the Reform Party welfare cuts. Was that today? Right, okay. There was another one I'm thinking of where she did the same thing about J.K. Rowling. And these idiots in the audience go with it.
Yeah.
They go with it. What? These people are poison, I think.
They really are.
And as Marie UK is saying here, these celebs are so young, no life experience. What makes them think they're qualified to tell us what to do? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's what show business and entertainment does. It gears them up and makes them feel so, well, they pander to them and they massage their egos too much and tell them they're the best thing ever. Nobody would ever come to Shooty on Doctor Who, for example, and saying, that performance wasn't particularly good. We don't want that happening. Let's do that. Because look at even the reviews from Russell of it. Oh, he's brilliant. He's marvelous. Blah, blah, blah. All the usual nonsense. There's no honesty. They're all fickle. Do you not think?
I think that I've said this before. I think sadly, unlike the classic series, there's no rehearsal anymore. It's all rehearse and record. So there's no time to develop a character. You have to either hit the ground running and be that character and have that charisma. There's no chance to develop a character or relationship with the fellow actors because you're not rehearsing properly. It's just sad.
Yeah.
It's true. Got this one, guys, from John Henson. RTD was asked to create new Doctor Who, but instead he made a show about himself.
Yeah.
To channel his anger.
Yeah. Whereas he should have done this TQ thing for Channel 4, as I said last year, instead of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And he decided to do Doctor Who, and then he killed it for everybody. Hi, Tony Farrell. Good to see you. And Woodhouse is saying to us, Shooty will be forgotten soon. I certainly hope so. I can't see him having this big Hollywood glittering career that he seems to think he's going to get.
No. I'd be interested to see, well, not that interested, but a little tiny bit interested, how his career develops after this play. Because he's taking himself out of the limelight a little bit by doing a play that's a bit more small scale compared to going to Hollywood to do like a movie. So I wonder how that'll pan out for him, But
it's also, Paul, the fact that, again, one of the things I've been arguing with people on the Stage Facebook page about is it's queer. They're writing everything now for and making the characters in it, whether they're historical or not, queer, and aiming at a minority audience of people that label themselves queer homophobic slur, which is a minority. And then they come back asking, oh my goodness, why are we losing visitors? Why are theatres closing down? Why don't the public come to our shows?
So the suggestion is that the Shakespeare and Marlowe play they're doing, that Shakespeare and Marlowe were lovers kind of idea. That's what they're
of
doing.
Of course, yes. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's just typical.
And where did that come from historically? This is artistic interpretation rather than it being based on a real fact. Then, no doubt, yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to sort that out a little bit. There was this sort of theory. Hello, Mr. Wayne JP. We're doing fine. How are you, mate? Good to see you. There was this sort of thing going around years ago, which I thought was hilarious, considering that he had a wife. Is that when he was away from the missus, Shakespeare did have a dally, or a couple of dallies, while he was in London with and others. But there's no proof to that at all, and you can't trust that. Didn't Gareth write it into the Shakespeare Code as well?
I think there's a hint of it there. Yeah.
Yes.
You mention it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that was having a dig, and it might be wrong, and Gareth can come and tell me, but I think that was a dig at all these people because that's where the queer theory was coming in, and everybody was. I mean, if we hang around enough time, they'll have something to say about Thatcher.
But Marlowe as well has been race swapped for Shooty's casting as well, isn't it? Because I think Marlowe wasn't black, was he? So I don't know where that's come from. So he wouldn't have been black probably in Shakespeare time anyway, in that position as a writer, surely. I mean, historically, to be accurate.
The BBC's interpretation it would have done, so it probably carries through into things like this as well. I remember the Missing Adventures novel, Empire of Glass, I think it was.
Yeah.
First Doctor story featured Marlowe acting as a spy for the king, and he was consistently coming on to Stephen.
All right.
Apparently.
Was he?
So, yeah, apparently, yeah.
Well, Stephen's a very handsome character, isn't he, to be fair? So.
Do you know I don't have that one in the collection? Isn't that weird? I thought I did. Maybe it's in a box somewhere. A lot of my stuff's still in boxes, everybody. But that's ridiculous. That's not the Doctor, as we know. This is one of the reasons I didn't really like those New Adventures and BBC book things. Sometimes they went into places I thought, no, put the book down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When they start sexualizing things, I think there was references to people catching various diseases and stuff like that. It was like, this is not Doctor Who. It's nonsense.
No, exactly. Yeah. Yes, so that's where we're up to with that one. Gatwa saw Doctor Who as a mere stepping stone. For RTD, it was a platform for his politics. It's disgusting, says Stevie and Jeannie Frith. And Richard Brooks is saying Glastonbury is a disgrace, calling for the... I don't know what I can say on the channel, guys, so you'll have to read that one, everybody. Yeah, I mean, that's what's happened. And apparently they're not going to bloody well investigate it, I noticed today.
Double standards again, then, obviously, clearly. So, yeah.
Welcome to Britain in the 21st
century. A mother of a child is in prison for 31 months for a lot less.
Yeah.
This is why I'm frightened of... Well, I'm very worried about being in our country these days. PT Music, for goodness sake, they're paid very well and complaining. Absolutely. And as some of you are saying in the chat, and I totally agree with you all, if you get something like Doctor Who, surely you'd be loving that. Surely you'd love it if battling monsters every week. Come on. I
wonder how much Gatwa was paid. I hope that comes out at some point, because I'd like to see whether it's value for money or not.
I would imagine. I would think. I don't know if we will get to see that because it's now private company. But bearing in mind that they were all over allegedly about $1 million.
Yeah.
From the BBC. Whittaker got the same as Capaldi, so it was the same sort of salary all the way through for all of them. I think it might have increased for Tennant coming back and then for Shooty because Disney was involved. Let's talk about that budget again, everybody, shall we? Not that.
Where did it all go? Just on fees mainly, and taxi fees
lunch
as well.
Lunch. We know how good they are. It's great to see you all in the chat. Thank you. Tornado Chaser saying to us, most music of today is so poor they can't even call it music. It's white noise. It's amazing though, because some of the most sensible younger ones now are rediscovering the 80s and 70s. Have you seen? Yeah, they're loving things like Fleetwood Mac and Godley and Cream. Isn't that incredible, guys? Because the current stuff isn't giving them anything, so they go and find the old stuff. Thank God for
things like Stranger Things. People are getting into Kate Bush and stuff like that, which is superb,
Yeah.
Love a bit Kate Bush, me.
Fantastic. So at least they've got all that. I mean, a young person I know did say to me recently that the reason that he likes the older music, as he calls it, is because it tells a story.
Yeah.
Where his music is just all about getting it on.
Yeah, all these fantastic performers they tell stories, they're clever lyrics, they're really well thought through, aren't they? Yeah, very
exactly.
clever, a lot of them.
Anyway, so that was him at the weekend there. I've now decided completely and utterly, not only do I not like him, but I've decided that he's vile. Chris Lawley, thank you so much for your super chat here. Did Newty ever appear live talking with Doctor Who fans in the UK, talking with children? He couldn't be bothered to turn up at BBC Doctor Who proms as Matt Smith did. Well, he did actually. There were a couple of stage things with young people as well for, I think it was Children in Need or Blue Peter, or both.
Oh, really? Was it? Well,
yes, there are various pictures. I haven't seen them live because obviously I'm a grown up and I won't watch Children in Need. No, I don't watch Blue Peter anymore, unfortunately, because I wouldn't know where to bloody well find it these days.
It's not been the same since Peter Purvis and John Noakes left.
Well, I'm still bitter because I didn't get the job. Anyway, yes, there are pictures of him with some youngsters, with RTD, sometimes without RTD, even down to the start of his series a couple of years ago now. And I think that was Blue Peter. They had a competition to meet the Doctor. And that's what I'm saying, to meet the Doctor, not meet Ncuti Gatwa, but to meet the Doctor.
Yeah.
And, even Matt Smith, who's had an immense career, as we all know, since leaving Doctor Who, fabulous career. He played it cool after leaving Doctor Who. He still actually does, doesn't he, really?
Yeah.
But he was good as the Doctor. He was the Doctor, without a doubt. You can't dispute that. He was probably, for me, one of the best of the new Who actors to play the Doctor, without a doubt,
Yeah. The last great one, I mean, Capaldi was fantastic as well, but those two, I think, are the last great two we had. Anyway, that's going up on there. But yeah, there we go there. But again, we all know where they sit. We've talked about it so many times here on Headlines on Who's Views. We all know that they're all part of this TQ cult, and they all know that they are far left, ideological. My personal opinion is that they're dangerous, and they are dictators. So that's my opinion. But the other one was around as well. The latest issue of Doctor Who featured an interview with Juno Dawson.
Who?
Yeah, Juno Dawson, everybody, who wrote the Interstellar Song Contest. Yes,
which got the best ratings of the series, didn't it?
It did.
Surprisingly,
down to the story and nothing else.
Yeah. Sorry, GT. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. We all know why it got the best ratings, because it had two fantastic rating pullers either side of it: the footy ball and the Eurovision Song Contest. But that seemed to work for them, didn't it? So listen, I thought you might be interested to hear what he had to say in Doctor Who magazine. So bear with me on this one, and then we'll see what the guys have to say about it, because it goes something like this. For a writer with a global fan base, Juno Dawson seems weirdly thrilled to be talking to little old Doctor Who magazine. I'm very excited, he exclaims, beaming us a wide smile. I love Doctor Who magazine. I think the first one I had Janet Field tied to a tree on the front cover. I think that was 1994 or something. Yes, that would be issue 214 from the days when Doctor Who wasn't on air, and Juno was just a child. Now he has his own successful series of fantasy novels, has worked for Big Finish, written 2 series of Doctor Who Redacted, the show that nobody cares about, and at the same time of writing this, it is just about to have the Interstellar Song Contest go out on BBC One, BBC iPlayer, and Disney+. Well, it's been a journey, and I'm quite glad, in a way, that I didn't go straight in with a televised episode, he says. I think the pressure would have sent me over the edge. So how did Juno start writing for Doctor Who in the first place, asked Doctor Who magazine. It's weird, but all roads lead back to Eurovision, he explains. It all started in 2015. I was in Vienna with a bunch of friends to watch the Eurovision. It was the year that Conchita won, and a friend of a friend called Matt Nichols was working on the brand, everybody. He said, "You're a Doctor Who fan, aren't you?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And he was like, "Oh, I'm friends with Scott Hancock, former Big Finish producer. And they always need writers to do Big Finish." So that was how Matt Nichols put me in touch with Scott, and I ended up doing a couple of the Torchwood audios. It was such a great training school for script writing, because to subtly explain an audio drama where we are is quite a skill. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. And then I think that from that, I was offered The Good Doctor, which is one of the Whittaker novels. Steve Cole reached out to me about that. And then through that, I was offered Doctor Who Redacted, the podcast. So it's happened very organically. Writing for the Doctor is a big deal, you know. I'll never forget being in the studio with Jodie when we did Doctor Who Redacted and having this moment of, oh my God, you are in front of an actual Doctor Who and she's reading lines that you have written. Don't be weird about it. Be cool, be chill. And then when RTD emailed and said, hello, would you like to write an episode of Doctor Who? I had that chill in me. And I was able to be like, yeah, I think I can make that work. I'll look at my diary. Juno giggles at his own attempt to act cool and continues, also in the years between 2015 and 2023, I have been working on various scripts and I have had shows in development with Sky and with Netflix and all sorts of other people. So I was a much more seasoned screenwriter and was able to approach the task confidently. I guess I was ready, as Cheryl Cole would say. Juno wasn't given a completely blank canvas for his episode. The idea of a Eurovision themed story had been in RTD's mind for some time, but Juno had the job of turning the single line pitch, Eurovision meets Die Hard, into a fully developed adventure. The whole thing has been so collaborative, says Juno. I was travelling backwards and forwards to Cardiff every couple of months, revising each time, taking on feedback and making various changes. That is how it goes. Some writers who are used to having total control over their work might find working in someone else's creative world a bit frustrating, but that doesn't seem to bother Juno. I think I would be insane to ignore the advice of someone who has been doing this for as long as Russell, he says. I've kind of been a student of Russell's long before I met him, so to actually work with him has been incredibly rewarding. I think he writes character and family so well. This is what's summing up what's wrong for Doctor Who and me. If you're in a fantastical setting, it's important to remember that these are real people with real lives. He won't waste time on a bad idea. If it's not working, just move on. And that's how I like to work as well. I think the other thing that we have in common is we like to be in control of things. I love that he has his finger in all the pies. He has his ideas about what the costume should be. He has his ideas about what the music should sound like. And that's the kind of showrunner I would like to be as well. So I've just kind of been sucking it up like a sponge. Juno gives a good example of how Russell's hands-on involvement made life easier for everyone working on his story. There was a point where part of the space station was going to be a real-life concert venue in Swansea, and Russell straight away was like, why would we want to be there in the middle of the night? If we build this, we can film it during the day. That is not something I would have even considered, so I really have treated my year on Doctor Who like the most incredible work experience a screenwriter can get. It does carry on, so we'll have a look at this next bit here. Juno is one of those unusual people who become a Doctor Who fan when the show wasn't on TV. And every home videos were hard to come by. He was only 8 years old when the classic series ended. So what was it that hooked him in and kept his enthusiasm alight all through the wilderness years? My first real memory of Doctor Who was poor Perry having her head shaved in episode 8 of The Trial of a Time Lord, which was really traumatic. I would have been so young, and as far as I knew, she was dead, because I don't think I ever saw the one where they said she wasn't. As a child, having to grapple with mortality, believing that Perry had died was a really big thing. Then I became very much a child of the Sylvester McCoy era. I vividly remember Bonnie Langford and her spinning bubble in Time and the Rani. I think I would have been 9 or 10 years old when I really sort of became obsessed, because I think you have to choose to be a fan. I think it's a rite of passage. My grandma got me into it when they repeated them on BBC One in the early 90s. I remember she started me off with the Sea Devils, and I think that led into Planet of the Daleks and Genesis of the Daleks. In the early 90s, it was not cool to be a Doctor Who fan. I was a 90s child obsessed with this thing from the 70s and 80s. I was buying them on VHS and reading Doctor Who magazine. It was a big part of my personality. And this weird Doctor Who kid, I wasn't aware of my own, and here we go, queerness back then. But I just hate that word, sorry. But I think there is something about Doctor Who which is about this incredible alien who comes into the humdrum life of an ordinary human and whisks them away. And I think that's how I felt. Growing up in rural West Yorkshire, I felt that I was meant for something else, and that I wasn't like other people in Bingley. Is that right, Liam? Bingley?
Yeah, Bingley.
Right. And that I was kind of waiting for a man in a blue box to come and take me away to find out who the person was that I was really supposed to be. I think that was always in the DNA of Doctor Who. And then when Russell took over with Rose, he kind of made that subtext into the plot. I'm not just Rose Tyler, shop girl. I'm meant for something bigger. I have a destiny beyond that. I think this was me in the 90s as well. I think it says a lot that I never really identified with the Doctor. I identified with Tegan or Perry or Mel or Ace. I wanted to be that girl, who was swept away and taken away for a better life. Yeah. It does carry on with this whole thing, of course, about the whole queer issue and stuff like this, homophobic slur, but I can't be bothered reading this.
Watching VHSs, but earlier on VHSs were hard to come by. I mean, I don't remember the VHSs being hard to come by. No, not the DVDs, to be quite honest. Merch like that was freely available.
Up a copy. That's how you did, yeah.
Yeah,
$9.99.
Yeah. There was that. Hang on. No, that's right. I was about to say there was that period in '96 where it stopped, but that was just the releases. You could still get them.
Yeah.
In '96.
They wanted all eyes to be on the TV film, didn't they?
Yeah. Robert is saying to us, so RTD doesn't like Swansea either, scared to go to Swansea at night. And the PVFS is saying it took advice from a guy who changed a character just for a gender. And Lex, nice to see you, and thank you for your super chat. Really good what Rod Stewart said this weekend. I was upset to hear about this rock band said about our Jewish brothers and sisters. As a Christian, it really made me sad what this rock band said, yeah. Well, we're just talking about that, Lex, as well, with Gatwa being there this weekend, and you just know what side what flag he was waving, for heaven's sake. We're currently talking about Juno Dawson's interview in Doctor Who magazine. Unusual People says problem being that ain't the half of it. Yeah.
What's interesting in the article is the idea of him having the experience to write Doctor Who, because and I love all that, you know, I've been in discussion with development with various streamers, etc., etc. But that just means nothing gets done. They've looked at ideas and thought, nah, let's not do that, you know. So you know, it's just weird that he's not that experienced at all, really, as a TV writer. And I don't know why he got the job in the first place. I do know why he got the job in the first place, but he shouldn't have got the job in the first place.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, because, and he says in that interview, Russell just phoned him up.
Yeah.
And said, "No, do you want it?" Because it ticks a box.
Because this is interesting. There's been rumours going about the new streamer and the problems with trying to get Russell off the pitch, kind of thing. And he's very choosy about who he gets to write for the series. He's very particular.
Yes,
he can't be that particular. You know what I mean? So it's like, and if you look at Juno Dawson and the guy who wrote the story in the engine, I think they're probably two of the worst episodes ever made in Doctor Who's history, to be honest. You know what I mean? So
yeah. But again, Russell, I mean, remember we said this a couple of years ago or last year, whatever it was. He did say at one point that any television show that bent the knee to DEI scriptwriters was wrong because the majority of them are awful, remember? And I'm paraphrasing, but we reported it. And the next thing you know, he's in charge of Doctor Who again, saying, "Oh, I'm going to bend the knee and start ticking the boxes."
I remember he said a thing a while ago when he brought back Doctor Who that writers who write for Doctor Who, I'm talking about 2005 to 2010, that writers needed to be steeped in science fiction and know about science fiction tropes and that kind of thing, you know, and be involved, know what things about the War of the Worlds or tripods, all that kind of stuff, and think about those kind of worlds that they have in sci-fi, and that's completely lost now, you know.
Exactly.
It's not really sci-fi anymore, though, is it? It's just family and relationship drama.
Yeah.
And politics. It's ridiculous.
But like, we need another soap opera on television, really, but we don't. You know, we've got plenty of soap operas to watch. We don't need another one, you know?
Yeah. I mean, this is what RTD's done, though. And I've had criticism, me personally, as you know, guys, over the last few years by saying Doctor Who's a soap opera. They don't like me saying it, but that's exactly what it is. And Dawson has highlighted this, that Russell's flair is more for building up the characters and their background. Who cares? Stick them in the TARDIS and take them off in time and space. We don't care about their families, do we?
Yeah. I also didn't know he wrote for Big Finish, because I don't have the Torchwood audios, so because I'm not a massive fan of Torchwood, to be honest. It's okay, but it's not brilliant. So I've not bought any of them. So I'm not surprised he's written for Big Finish, but I didn't know he had, which is interesting. So.
And the way that he got it as well, he just happened to be at Eurovision.
Yeah.
And somebody knows somebody. It's very cliquey, isn't it? This cult.
It's called nepotism, I believe. I think that was
probably that. Yeah. Thank you, Marie. I'm sure you've just made Ian's day there. With Yorkshire is one of the best places in the UK, in my opinion. He should be proud to come from there, not think I'm better than this.
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely, Marie. You are talking absolute truth. I mean, of course, North Yorkshire is better than West Yorkshire, but West Yorkshire does have the best football team in Leeds United. So, you know, split loyalties.
We'll need to take your word for that, Ian, I have to say.
Yes, you bet.
Well, there was a lot to this article. They really made it. I mean, I'll show you because I have the graphics here. I don't know if I can be bothered reading it all, but look, it does state in Doctor Who magazine, Juno is a transgender woman who has been writing professionally since 2012, mostly young adult fiction, often with paranormal themes. He's also written open, honest, factual books aimed at teens and the not so young about gender, identity, and the ways we navigate our past through the world. Most recently, he's enjoyed big success with Her Majesty's Royal Coven, a series of fantasy novels blending witchcraft with political power games. It sounds like a pretty full schedule, so how on earth did he find time to squeeze a Doctor Who in as well? We don't really care, do we, really? But I'll leave it up there for a second. There you go. We've had this side of it as well. He has deep knowledge of both Eurovision and Doctor Who, apparently, so cramming it all into the episode. Ha, ha, ha. You know? There we go. There's this element of it as well here. It goes to explain some of the episode, which I didn't watch. Remember? Yeah. Okay. He does mention this bit there. I think Doctor Who's always been political. I can't think of a day that it hasn't been. I was watching The War Machines recently and thinking about it through the lens of AI, and it was the same conversation in 1966 that we're still having now. When people say, "Oh, Doctor Who has gone woke," I'm like, what version of Remembrance of the Daleks are you watching? This show is about a Time Lord who is always on the side of the underdog, who was always championing the oppressed. I think the difficulty is when different groups have different ideas about who is being oppressed, and that's where the conflict comes from. But Doctor Who fundamentally is always about a person who is always trying to free the oppressed. As a trans writer, I kind of feel a responsibility to talk about the trans situation in the UK. But it wouldn't have been right to do Doctor Who and the Gender Recognition Act, because you know that's not going to be good hour of television. So when you think about the character of Cora, there is some subtext there about the trans experience. I wouldn't want viewers to dwell on it, just to go with the flow, enjoy the story. But a lot of Cora's story is very personal. I do think Doctor Who is at its best when it works on multiple levels. When you've got the action, adventure, explosions, the younger audience can all enjoy that. This is something that you might not pick up until a second or third viewing, or until perhaps you're a bit older, but it's all there, it's all woven in. It's about giving layers to Cora and Wynne and Kid. Nobody is a villain and nobody is a hero. There's one memorable moment right at the conclusion of the story that Juno didn't write, and that's the surprise by generation. How much was Juno told about Mrs. Flood at the beginning? I knew Mrs. Flood was the Rani, and it was funny how surprisingly unguarded they were about that. Like, oh yeah, she's the Rani. I think that's really hilarious, because every woman of a certain age who has appeared near the Doctor in the last 20 years has been thought to be the Rani. So this time she really is. I was told really early in at some point in the story, Mrs. Flood would have to be there. And I was told that there's a whole plot line where the Doctor and Belinda can't go home. I will say the bi-generation scene was written by RTD. I love that the great big Rani reveals happens in my episode. And what a cliffhanger. What an amazing cliffhanger.
I still say they never knew the Rani was the Rani from the start. That's completely nonsense. She was shoehorned in very late in the day, I think. Yeah.
Right.
He just had Mrs. Flood in there, didn't he? As a random character, he had no end game for her.
No, and it's dead obvious, because I think the way Anita Dawson plays Mrs. Flood is nothing like the Rani. If you had more essence of that at the start, it might have worked, but it wasn't. It was just shoehorned in,
But we said a couple of weeks ago the RTD only did it because, of course, he had seen on the fan message boards or whatever. Oh, it's the Rani, it's the Rani. And that's why he brought back the Rani and Omega, because fans had asked for it.
Yeah, I've been asking for Paul McGann to come back for years, but he didn't do that, did he?
And he's not going to go. He's not going to come back anytime soon either.
No.
Particularly saying to his remembrances about the idiocy of identity politics, which racism and fascism are examples of. Something that an identity-obsessed tool like Dawson and RTD doesn't get. Well said.
Yeah. Absolutely bang on.
Yeah. And Legion of James saying trans writer. So does that mean not a writer who believes he is? Asking for my imaginary friend. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, that was that. That was the article from him in Doctor Who magazine, and they made a big fuss of it as well.
I love the fact that on the article, JT, that he thinks what he did was subtle, and you have to watch it 2 or 3 times to get the nuances. It was really on the nose, wasn't it? I mean, you didn't see it, but Ian did. It was just so unsubtle, unlike Remembrance and things like that. It was a bit, that was part of the story, where this was just like shoehorned in and just blatantly in your face. You couldn't miss it,
Yeah, we now know that the Doctor Who that has just been produced over the last 2 years, because we've had people here on Who's Views in the chat telling us they watch it before they give it to their kids. Let me know if you actually let your kids watch any of these particular episodes this year. whosviews1@gmail.com. Chris Lawley saying to us, once a time, this was for fathers to connect and enjoy with their children, creating memories to grow up with. Well, here. Yes, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was.
It's a shame that the magazine didn't have the balls to touch on the issue of the Doctor willfully and happily torturing a white male.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't remember that because I didn't watch the episode, but maybe they will when the series comes off air. But I've got the strange feeling that Doctor Who magazine won't be around to be there.
No, I think they'll be bringing back the Doctor Who Adventures magazine as a stopgap, probably.
Yeah, it's the time with that stupid preschool cartoon they're trying to get off the ground. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's that. I thought that might be of interest to you as well. Something else that might be of interest to you now is you are in America is stand by, because the BBC is on its way. be worried. We've been trying to explain over the last couple of years to our friends outside the UK exactly what the BBC license fee is. We've been also saying for a little while there are alternatives these days to the BBC license fee because it doesn't work. Millions of people in the United Kingdom are stopping their television license, which means that they cannot watch live television and they cannot access the iPlayer with live television. A lot of the competitors to the BBC have released their own versions of the iPlayer for which you don't need a television license for, as long as you don't click the live television button. In short, any live television in the UK has to be covered by the BBC TV license. And America, you thought you were going to get away with it, didn't you? You're not, because the BBC has plans to make money out of the Yanks. Through a subscription service, as reported by The Telegraph, BBC launches US subscription 80pc cheaper than license fee. US households will have to pay up to $8.99 a month for the broadcaster's premium service. This is a massive story, really, here, because this is basically a subscription service. Could this be a tester for how they get to their future here in the UK? But why not just do it straight in the UK now? It's because they're not popular. Let's have a look at this story from The Telegraph. It carries on saying the BBC is to start charging Americans a subscription to access its news and live television, charging 80pc less than the license fee. The broadcaster unveiled details of the paywall on Thursday, which will see American households charge $8.99, which is £6.55 a month. Good grief. For a premium service, an annual subscription to the BBC will be priced at $49.99, which is £36.50. These are cheap prices, guys. The price is far lower than the £174.50 per year license fee charged to Britons who watch BBC television. US customers will not get all the same benefits as Britons. The package will grant users unlimited access to news and feature articles, while a live stream of the BBC News channel will also be available. Good. However, American subscribers will not get access to TV channels beyond BBC News. Ad-free documentary series and films will be included in the subscription, which will be launched on Thursday. Americans who choose not to pay for the service will still be able to access a selection of news stories and will be able to listen to BBC radio stations and podcasts. While the services offered are not directly comparable, the huge gulf in charges is likely to provoke critics of the license fee who argue it is draconian and too high. It is the first time that users outside the UK will have to pay for the BBC's news coverage, although bosses said there were no plans to introduce a similar model outside the US. It comes amid a decline in Britons paying the license fee. The number of UK households paying the fee dropped by roughly 500,000 last year. BBC executives are targeting the US as they believe it represents a major commercial opportunity for the broadcaster, largely owing to the country's lack of impartial news coverage. Oh, really? Ha 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 ha. Jill Hind of Enders Analysis said, a lot of the news out in the US is very, very biased. And for people that are interested in what's happening, not just in the US, but globally, there'll be a lot of news on the BBC that you wouldn't get on things such as Fox. So if you actually want to have a greater understanding of what's happening on the world scene, and also how the US is being seen by others, then actually something like the BBC is the most obvious channel to go towards. American appeal. The BBC has become increasingly popular across the Atlantic in recent years. In 2020, a Reuters survey found it to be more trusted by American audiences than large US domestic media brands such as CBS and the New York Times. Its website alone reaches 60 million Americans, which is almost half of its 139 million global visitors. However, the BBC's global expansion efforts have been hampered by the rise of streaming services such as Netflix. In 2020, a Reuters survey, I'll carry on there. This has been compounded by dwindling income from the license fee, which fell by 30pc in real terms between 2010 and 2020. Tim Davie, the BBC's Director General, has called for the license fee to be raised to stem what he called a decade of grinding cuts. He said earlier this month, I do want universal funding and I want proper investment and not begrudging grinding cuts to the BBC, which you've had in the last 10 years, which have just not helped. It comes ahead of talks over the renewal of the BBC's Royal Charter, which is likely to determine how the broadcaster is funded. Lisa Nandy, the Culture Secretary, has previously said the licence fee was unenforceable and ruled out funding the BBC through regular taxes, saying she would like to support a BBC that is empowered to continue to deliver a vital public service funded in a sustainable way. Following the paywall's announcement, Rebecca Glashow, the chief executive of BBC Studios Global Media and Streaming, said, "Over 3 years, we set out on a bold mission to completely reimagine how we deliver the BBC's world-class news and factual content to consumers in the US. Over the next few months, as we test and learn more about audience needs and habitats, additional long-form factual content will be added to the offer for paying users. This is a major milestone and just the beginning of an exciting new chapter." What do you think?
I think it's really interesting that if they are testing the water, if they will eventually come round to the idea of doing it here in the UK, because it's obviously it's money grabbing really, but I'm interested to see if they will continue it in the UK eventually and do what we've said all along, have their own kind of streaming service rather than having a proper TV license, so the money will be reduced. But they don't have BBC America anymore, do they?
No.
So that's gone. So that's the only option they have. But for $8.99 of it doesn't seem an awful lot to offer the people, though, does it? To be honest, from the description of the news channels and whatever, and it will be, as you've alluded to, just different biased news. So
well, as John's the computer doctor saying to us here, this is what the BBC is known as here in the UK, the British Bias Corporation. Because it's very odd. It does. And what does this from problem be? So does this mean if that more people pay the subscription in America than we do the license fee in the UK, that the BBC will become beholden to US patrons more than the UK? Good question.
That's a good question indeed.
Very good question.
I think the television license I think it's absolutely immoral. The fact that you cannot watch an ITV program or a Channel 4 or Channel 5 program unless you pay for the BBC.
Absolutely.
It's like I can't go to buy something from Sainsbury's unless I pay a tax to Tesco's.
Yeah, that seems ludicrous, doesn't it? Yeah,
that shit, isn't it? And it's you have to pay for this whether you use it or not.
Yes.
And that would not be sustainable or tolerated anywhere else about anything else, even in this country. Crazy as it is, but And as for BBC News being unbiased, my God.
It's not at all, is it? Yeah.
It's the most nasty cesspit of far left political agenda that you'll ever see. It's horrendous.
It's interesting what you're saying there as well, Ian, because as we were saying before, Channel 4 is already paid for by the taxpayer. And down to the old-fashioned BBC rules, even though we have paid for Channel 4, if you wanted to watch something on Channel 4, you can't without paying the BBC as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the system in the United Kingdom is crazy. It's so out of date. It worked back in the old days. And I'm talking 70 years ago, 60 years ago, possibly even in the 70s. Yeah. It doesn't today. When we're in a multi-digital platform age, the BBC are covering everything as live television. Oh, we've got to have the money. We've got to have the money because they're desperate. They're targeting young audiences on everything because they're desperate to make sure that they pay for the license fee because it's going to die out because those kids are not paying and they never will. Got Robert Payne saying to us here, the Americans have the internet. They don't need to BBC if they are interested. Yeah, because they'll do what they do now. De Morpin is saying, oh, great, BBC News. This shows BBC ignorance of reality, says Chris Lawley. Yeah.
Well, I do think there will be a backlash once it gets more public attention for people who are anti-TV license. I think it will cause a furore, I'd imagine.
This came to my attention, Paul, from the hashtag Defund the BBC group, of which I am part of. Right. Basically, I follow it an awful lot, and I've cut this through, and they put the link in, and I read it, and I thought, what? Because again, as you guys are saying, it just strikes of we've got to get money from somewhere. And what's the money going towards now? Because it's certainly not going towards quality programming. Again, I think it's going towards staffing.
No doubt, yeah.
Benign Crinoid, BBC News, more like BBC Narrative Enforcement. Sliver Wolf, it won't take long for Americans to work out that BBC is just the same as their stuff. And Woodhouse 122 saying, BBC News unbiased, you're having a laugh. It's hard to say, isn't it? It's hard to describe how the BBC really is. I mean, if you look at some of its presenters, especially that woman that does Question Time, and that idiot Naga, whatever she is, on breakfast television,
who's gone to Sky or something. She moved from BBC to Sky or something like that, I think. Yeah.
Oh, right. Well,
happened?
Yeah.
I didn't know it happened, but she's horrible. She's a nasty piece of work.
Yeah.
I'd taken on breakfast television for the BBC. Her and that Charlie fellow would have been out the door within 10 seconds. You know.
Do you remember Sian? Was it Sian who was on BBC? Who went to Channel 5? She was a bit of a cow as well, allegedly.
Was she? Was she really?
Yeah.
See, these people just think they're better than everybody else. We never used to be like this in the BBC. Funky 1463, BBC News Impartial. Okay. Robert Payne, most Americans think the UK is a communist or Islamic country. Do they? Oh, God. They're not interested in the BBC. Well, maybe 10 Democratic Party senators would. Oh, do people really think that about us? Oh, my God, that's worrying. Isn't that awful? And we've got here, I'm not at all into politics as PVFS, but it's important to keep an eye on things that could affect or potentially affect you. And it's mostly humor. Okay. This is just affecting Brits in America, not Americans. I can't see this being the big success they think it's going to be. No. As Chris Lawley is saying to us, the BBC executives are idiots. Well, we all know that. And Woodhouse122 saying to us, 3 years license free now, never buying a TV license again, I'm afraid. And as long as you don't watch, as you know, as I do, and you know most of us do, if you don't watch live television, you don't need it. You know,
are they expecting to get have they got 60 million reach? Are they expecting to get 60 million times $9? Yeah. I mean, is that what they're expecting? Really?
You know what? You know how they work, Paul. Like, that's exactly what they're expecting.
Yeah.
Just like they were expecting millions of their new target audience for Doctor Who to come through because they've been told they were there.
Yeah.
No. We're going to be following this story, by the way, actually, as much as we possibly can. We're going to be looking eventually about how it's gone for them. How has this gone? If you're in the States, will you subscribe to the BBC for the prices that they've just quoted there? Please let us know. If you're in the chat, you can tell me now, or you can get in touch, whosviews1@gmail.com. From our lovely, lovely Who viewers here, will you subscribe to the BBC for their news?
If they're putting it behind a paywall, it shows that they can do it, which they've always been able to do because everybody else does.
Exactly, Ian. Exactly. I'm wondering if it is a pilot for the future for here in the UK. Legion of James is saying, if the BBC wasn't such a biased anti-Semitic propaganda machine that actually churned out quality programming for all the demographics free of agenda, then we wouldn't be caring about the TV tax. Legion of James, from my point of view, I don't remember anybody when I was a kid in the 70s and even into the 80s moaning about the TV license.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah,
because we all watched the telly.
Yeah.
And in our day, you actually needed the BBC because their news was spot on and it was proper and it was middle of the road. It was just news. It was just reporting. It wasn't opinion. You know, it wasn't that, was it, guys? And they entertained. The BBC entertained all the time. It had something for everybody. And as we've said before, those entertainers back then, you never knew their politics.
Yeah.
They just entertained. They came to work, entertained, went home, and then spoke to their spouses or whomever about the politics while watching an unbiased news. Daryl's with us. Hello, Daryl. Good to see you. BBC News is on YouTube anyway. Is it?
Yeah.
I suppose it is for those little clips and stuff, isn't it? Oh, where have we got here? Thanks, Daryl. Nice to see you. Jar B666. I'm from the US and won't be subscribing to the BBC channel. I subscribe to BritBox and it's my go-to. I get all my classic Doctor Who and my favorite British TV series and movies. Good. BritBox owned by the BBC, isn't it? Thank you for that, mate. The bold mission to boldly grab as much dosh as possible. Whose views giving the BBC ideas, so whose views should ask for a percentage of the revenue, says Sliver Wolf.
There's an idea. Yeah.
If I paid, said Robert, if I paid, said Robert, for what I watched on the BBC, it would cost me £20 a month. It would cost me nothing. I don't miss it. I haven't had my license now for years, and I don't miss the BBC at all. Honestly, I think there was that from a lot of us as well, when you're giving up and you're thinking about giving up that license, is that fear, because it's a big change, because it's been part of our lives forever. But I can guarantee you, I've missed nothing. I go now to friends or my families, especially when we're watching Doctor Who, and I look at the stuff they've got on before, I look at the stuff they're promoting, and I think, oh my God, this is tack.
Yeah, it's got steadily worse, hasn't it?
It'd be interesting to know how much money they've spaffed over Glastonbury, because they send a huge amount of people. And
I had that, Ian, because I thought you might ask about it. Oh, I've left it in another room. It was quite a lot. It's a good few. It's a good few pennies. I'll look it up again and I'll let you know, because it was
It'd be interesting to get that figure, divide it by £179, whatever, and find out how many people's license fees have allowed the BBC to spend all that time at Glastonbury promoting the noxious
nonsense. Yeah.
comment from certain.
Have a jolly at Glastonbury as well. Yeah,
because they're all staying there, aren't they? And they'll all be in the VIP areas, which you pay for. So the BBC have paid a lot. I'll find the figure and I'll let you know, Ian. But the thing about that is it's out there, everybody. You can all look it up. But the other thing about that as well is that event that has just happened is not what it was. And it didn't represent the views of everybody with the BBC, which they think it does, and it doesn't. So, of course, for those of you outside the UK, you won't realise that the BBC is in more hot water again. It goes from one problem to another all the time because it doesn't get it right. You know, and I'd be very interested to see how many people have phoned over the weekend, how many people will phone tomorrow and Tuesday to the BBC hotline number to either cancel their license or to complain. The BBC news channel, says Woodhouse 122, is awful at the moment. It's worse than Sky, GB News and Talk. Well, yeah. And Chris is saying to us, the BBC annoys everyone apart from the idiots watching EastEnders. Now, I've got friends that watch EastEnders, Chris. Come on. they're not idiots. And Jar again here saying, I don't think the BBC will be that popular in the US. It's not that popular here, mate.
No.
Digby wants to say, bring in the subscription, drop the license fee. And when did that come in? Says Funky 1463. When did that come in? Our last in year only affected the BBC channel. It comes in on Thursday. It's there now. They can pay for a subscription for BBC News if you're in America. Andrew Parker wants to know, didn't the BBC have a charter to educate, enlighten and entertain? It thinks it's doing that, though. Have you read some? If you read some of the stuff from Tim Davey, the guy on our thumbnail, he's the big chief over at the BBC right now. He thinks they're doing all that.
Delusional.
That's the kind word.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying anything at all, but here you go. BBC complaint number is 0370 010 0222. If you didn't know where to go, there's a public service announcement for you there. 0370 010 0222. Lines
I'm
open.
disappointed it's not the swap shop number, to be honest. But
I wouldn't want that 018 to 18055 associated with anything to do with the BBC.
Oh, well, yeah. But yeah. You know, it's the only line they have open. Yeah.
That number's legendary, isn't it?
Yeah.
To our generation, yeah. Yeah, it says it really is. Coke good to see you. BBC 2025, you can't polish a turd. And John Henson saying BBC running a protection racket, payout or else. That's exactly what it is, guys, isn't it? We've talked about that before. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. When the public finds out the US will be paying £80 to our 170, there will be a public outrage. There needs to be. Sorry, I was distracted there by your new Sea Devil there. That's really good. Like that, Steve. Thank you for that. Oh, and by the way, in case you weren't with us live at 6 earlier on today, Steve Braddock there, who's done that drawing, he's going to be on a chit chat with me this week. So look out for that. It's going to come out this week. We've done a chit chat. So thank you. What else we got from lots of you in the chat? Thank you. PT Music saying new BBC programs crap, older BBC programs some good. I'd say the majority of them are now, to be quite honest, mate. You know, quite happy watching all the stuff, aren't you guys?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I'm always watching vintage TV of some description on cable. Definitely. Yeah.
It's so much better than the stuff we have today.
Yeah.
It's old, but it's strangely refreshing, isn't it? It doesn't have to be new to be refreshing. It's just refreshing to see that. I like seeing stuff going on in the background of things as well that just represent that era. You know, that world then. I have vague memories of, you know, further back you go, 60s and early 70s, vague memories, but to see it there is it's just absolutely wonderful.
I'm always singing praises of Talking Pictures TV, which is superb, I have to say.
Yeah. Connie 360 saying, I watch around 30% US and 70% UK TV. I'd watch more, but no access. Fair enough, Connie. All I'd say to any of you in America that are thinking of taking the subscription through the BBC News is just be wary. Just be wary. I mean, BBC News is not what it was. And I know the BBC has this reputation that they're playing on now of being incredible, etc., etc., etc. It was. But the last 15, 20 years, not so much, in my opinion. And they've really judged people and they've clamped down on stuff. And you will see on certain stories only one side these days. That's all I'm saying to you. If you're gonna fork out your money, your hard-earned dollars for this, I wouldn't bother. Stephen O'Neill is saying BBC own UK TV, which ironically carries commercials. I know, that drives me mad. Why?
It's convenient for them when it's not on the actual channel itself. It's really bizarre.
Yeah.
Why you couldn't put adverts on the BBC, I don't understand why you can. It's just daft.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. This is a great subject for you all. I would subscribe if it were all shows, but I already get free BBC News on my local PBS, says Connie360. Oh, right. Fair enough, Connie. Then good. Why? Unless it's coming off the PBS, will you check for us, Connie, and let us know if it does? Yeah, that'd be interesting. Woodhouse122, people in America are cutting back on streaming channels, so the BBC News has got no chance.
Yeah.
Margie is saying to us here, absolutely not, and I'm American. There you go.
Why would you want a BBC News channel if you can get your own news in your own country? It's even daft, really.
I know. Yeah. Oh dear, lots of you here with us. Thank you for that. And Funky saying to us, this is what the BBC wanted Disney Plus for: insider information about American streaming data.
I think the BBC think that the majority of Americans will think like they do. And the BBC will think that the majority of Americans hate Trump, for example. And I think the evidence tends to point to the fact that the majority of Americans don't. And I think they'll go on an angle and present themselves very, very badly. And they don't have a good rep over there anyway. And I think they will just make their reputation worse, which will be quite funny, to be honest.
Well, it's something that we can keep an eye on, isn't it? Really is. Thanks for your super chat, Lex. ITV is doing more streaming on YouTube with Noel, Life in New Zealand on YouTube. Is it really? I watched that, the show with Noel Edmonds. I loved it. It's only 3 episodes. Noel, if you're watching, can I have more, please? Really enjoyed it, your take on New Zealand life, and congratulations and good luck to you and Mrs. Edmonds. I really enjoyed it.
I watched the first one the other day. It was all right.
Yeah, he's so refreshing. And it's the Noel I remember.
Yeah.
He's still got his energy. And he's still got his focus, and he's still professional, and he's still looking good for his age. Didn't realize how good.
Considering what he went through as well, he's very positive.
Well, with the banks, yeah.
He looks great. Do you know what helps? The beard, because he's had that beard since we were all kids. So you don't change when you got the beard, do you? But it was a great show. Really enjoyed it. And New Zealand. If you're living in New Zealand and you're watching us, you are bloody lucky. Your scenery is amazing. Absolutely gorgeous the way Noel's team has filmed it all, and where his little place is, and the place I won't even try to pronounce, gorgeous. Go and see his pub. It's Bugger Inn. Go and have a look. Go and tell him that Whose Views sent you, and we send him all our best. Jordan is saying, my public service announcement, Doctor Who is shite. Thank you for that, Jordan. You're very right. Yes, so this has been a good story. Digital Pollution saying the news has always been one-sided. It wasn't in my day, because even on Newsround they reported it properly.
Newsround.
I mean, the newsreaders were very boring, to be honest, because they had to be, because all they did was read the news from a piece of paper, blah 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 blah, and then they went off.
And all that lovely shuffling they used to do.
But you never knew, did you, Paul, where they stood politically? If they were talking about Thatcher or whomever, you didn't know where they were, because they were just stone-faced like that, very British, blah 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 blah. No emotion. That's how it should be.
It was impartial. That was the point, wasn't it?
Yeah. And Tardy Spider is with us. Hello, mate. How are you? I only stream and love BritBox and Acorn. On being on Chit Chat is a career maker. Yeah, because we did one with you ages ago, didn't we? There you go.
Next up, Hollywood. That's it. Yeah, or Cricklewood, probably in my case. Yeah.
Lots of you enjoyed that one, everybody. But yes, that's the situation, isn't it? That's where it's at. So let us know. Keep us in tune with that one. Well, listen, everybody, thank you so much. Just before we go, I just want to repeat a feature that I did on tonight's Live at 6. For those of you who don't know, yes, Danilo have announced the first in their 2026 calendars. This is the official 2026 Deluxe calendar, which will be on sale at the Calendar Club or online at Danilo's website from August, everybody, from August. It's got a recommended retail price of $14.99, although I think you can get it for around about $12.99. Whoopie-doo. As you can see, this is a larger edition of the calendars. This is very large. Now, that is actually, guys, a wrap. It's a cardboard wrap. And I don't know if you've seen Danilo doing this with other things like Harry Potter and football teams and cars and gorgeous things like that. But in this big cardboard envelope, you get 12 deluxe, as they call it, prints, which are designed to be taken out separately and put in frames so you can put the art cards on your wall. Oh. This is an example of 3 of them.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Not my thing, I have to say. But there you go. That's only 3 of them there, but that is on the way now.
Not quite sure what that's trying to be, really. It looks like the kind of rough drawings that you would see in fanzines in the 80s because you couldn't afford to have photos printed. Things.
Sliver Wolf is saying that's cool. Only Graham 70694. Graham is saying the only calendar I want is by Daryl. Daryl, did you hear that? There you go. You've got an order in already. Dulux calendars have better colours, says Robert Payne. Funky 1463 is saying actual monsters, whereas John Mason is saying what shite. He likes that word. Chris Lawley, oh, so exciting. Not. I like the first one, but I'm not blown away, says Marie UK as well. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. This is the first of the Danilo calendars. It's going to be interesting to see if they churn out another Shooty Gatwa one, though, eh?
You're right about the picture, though, Ian, with the monsters. It looks like a literal cut and paste. You're actually cutting it physically with scissors and then put glue on. That's what it looks like,
And then banging it through a photocopier that doesn't quite have enough toner.
Yeah. Daryl's more popular. With Lex saying, I can't wait for Daryl's 2026 one. Yes, so there we go. Oh, JT, you're missing the Pertwee horror movies, said Frankie there. I know, I'm on the way. We're going to be seeing that again. And Jess Corbin saying, whoever, wherever, once again, thanks for the much needed therapy to JT and the panel. Of course, the chat. Thank you. That's nice, Jess. Yes, thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you to everybody. Just to add on that one as well for Danilo, the Danilo diary for 2026 is now available to pre-order. It's the same as the last several years. That's all I'm going to say. It's not inspiring at all. We do know of another calendar that's coming up for 2026. Please stay with us because when it's ready to be announced, we'll be talking all about it. Exactly. Paul, Third Doctor Ian, thank you for tonight. Really enjoyed the chat again. Great show.
Thank you. I enjoyed it too. Yeah. It's like therapy. It really is, I have to say.
It is like therapy, isn't it? Yeah, it really is. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that's joined us tonight. Keep your emails coming in. Keep your interests coming in. And yes, whosviews1@gmail.com. Please make sure, if you have already subscribed to the channel, that you are still subscribed. If you're new to us, come and join us. Please subscribe to us. Headlines is our main Sunday show where we talk about things that affect Doctor Who. And yes, we do get political, but all views are welcome. Lots of other shows coming up for you. Our reviews have started again. We've also very quickly, for July, we've got a return to the Peter Cushing Hammer horror films. We're going to be looking at The Brides of Dracula in the next couple of weeks. We've got 2 Blake 7 reviews for you next month. And we've also got a couple of specials coming up for you as we take a look towards Doctor Who. Now it's not here. We've also got our Sarah Jane Adventures reviews coming up for you. There's lots coming. We've got plenty to talk about here on Who's Views. Make sure you stay with us. We will see you again very shortly. Don't forget my chit chat with Stephen will be along this week as well. But from Paul, from Ian and myself for now, take care of yourselves. We'll see you very soon. Tra everybody.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.